Chapter 774. Since the beginning of the Battle of 10 Billion, Lu Chun had been on the defensive. However, Lu Chun's defense was not to passively take a beating, but to measure the Taekwondo master's strength, speed, and combat ability through the confrontation with Li Zhiqing. Therefore, although the situation was ugly, he was actually able to defend with ease. It was only when he was about to be knocked out of the ring that Lu Chun decisively counterattacked. This made Li Zhiqing, who was fighting smoothly before, suddenly sober up. He wisely returned to his original position instead of gambling and continued to attack. He adopted a more cautious posture to deal with Lu Chun. This also showed Li Zhiqing's shrewdness and experience. Under such circumstances, Lu Chun's forbearance and probing no longer had any meaning. The offensive and defensive momentum of the two sides was reversed. He quickly approached Li Zhiqing, raised his left arm horizontally in front of him, and clenched his right hand into a fist and punched his opponent's head like lightning. Simple, direct, and fast. This was the first time that Lu Chun used the kung fu skills that he had honed over a long period of time in public. Chi! The iron fist broke through the air and made a soul-stirring sound, which made Li Zhiqing's face change involuntarily. The fist speed was too fast. He had no time to parry, so he immediately dodged sideways and retracted his left leg, ready to sweep and kick back. However, just as Li Zhiqing lifted his leg, Lu Chun's right leg suddenly swept over. Bang! The left and right legs of both sides slammed together, and the dull sound made everyone's eyelids twitch. Li Zhiqing instantly retracted his leg, and the muscles in the corner of his eyes couldn't help but twitch. With a low shout, he waved his palm knife and fiercely chopped at Lu Chun, who was close at hand. Pa! His palm knife was blocked by Lu Chun's left arm, and Lu Chun's right fist almost at the same time found a gap and bombarded Li Zhiqing's chest. Li Zhiqing suddenly felt as if he was struck by lightning. He couldn't help but stagger back, and the horror in his heart was indescribable. Lu Chun's attack was not out of his expectations, because he had already seen through Lu Chun's patience. So he was fully prepared to let Lu Chun go all out to attack, and then look for an opportunity to counterattack while defending. But never had he imagined that Lu Chun's attacks would come so swiftly. Even more inconceivable was that Lu Chun seemed to be able to see through his every move and was always able to perfectly seal off his counterattack before giving him a heavy blow. Li Zhiqing didn't believe that Lu Chun had the ability to see through his moves, nor did he believe that Lu Chun had completely seen through his moves. The only explanation was that Lu Chun's reaction was too fast, giving him the illusion that he had been seen through. At the same time, Lu Chun's combat ability had also exceeded his expectations. He did not suffer this punch unjustly. Seeing that Li Zhiqing was repelled by Lu Chun's punch, all the Wuqing disciples stood up. They couldn't believe their eyes. Li Zhiqing, who was the symbol of invincibility in their eyes, actually failed to successfully defend against Lu Chun's counterattack and lost unmistakably. Compared to these Li Zhiqing disciples, Lu Chun's fans who were watching the live broadcast of the match finally broke out into collective cheers and applause for the first time since the start of the match. Beautiful! This punch is too beautiful. Ha ha! I said that Chun will win. Now who dares to say that there is any danger? Although I don't understand it very well. It looks really powerful. Lu Chun, come on, beat Li Zhiqing. Wonderful. In the Whale TV live broadcast room, it was just like a festival. Countless fans were reveling, and countless barrage and gifts were sent out. Aircraft carriers came out one after another as if they didn't cost anything. In the official Tieba, Lu Chun supporters were even more proud and elated. One after another, they posted the post of Park Un-sung KSO, asking them to admit defeat to the top and fiercely beat it. Park In-sung KSO quickly replied, "The match is not over yet." Lu Chun's fans were indeed happy a little too early. Li Zhiqing only took a punch and lost points. He was not knocked out of the ring or fell to the ground. It was too optimistic to say that Lu Chun won now. But in the ring, Lu Chun really played his momentum with this wave of wonderful attacks. He quickly caught up with the retreating Li Zhiqing, twisted his waist, and kicked the latter's waist and abdomen with a whip kick. A whip kick is equivalent to a horizontal kick or a spinning kick in Taekwondo. It pays particular attention to attacking the opponent by surprise. Speed is the essence. Lu Chen used a whip kick in pursuit, which was intended to oppress Li Zhiqing. Li Zhiqing's reaction was also very fast. In the case of not being stable, he accelerated back to avoid Lu Chen's whip kick. He immediately stopped and raised his leg to kick Lu Chen's abdomen. His counterattack was a little reluctant, but his pride and conceit did not allow him to retreat again and again. Especially in the case of a head-on confrontation with Lu Chen, the Taekwondo master showed his brave side in addition to his shrewdness. Lu Chen moved to avoid, but the momentum of the attack did not change. Block, dodge, parry, hit. In this arena, the duel between the two sides entered a white-hot state in the blink of an eye. The confrontation of fists and palms, the collision of legs and legs, the muffled sound seemed to be pounding on the hearts of the audience. For minutes had passed since the first round's 5-minute time limit. The confrontation between Lu Chen and Li Zhiqing was getting more and more intense. The powerful collision between the two sides made the audience shudder with fear. Chen Fei, and Lu Shi also stood up from their seats. They were extremely nervous. As for the audience watching the live broadcast, they focused all their attention on the screen. They widened their eyes for fear of missing any scene. The time of the match jumped to 4:25. At this time, Lu Chen and Li Zhiqing had already attacked dozens of times, and the two sides were evenly matched. Li Zhiqing was able to block Lu Chen's fist and took a step back. His forehead was covered in fine sweat. His face was flushed red, but his eyes flashed with a fierce and resolute light. The next moment, he suddenly took half a step forward and instantly jumped high in the air. He twisted his body in the air and prepared to kick at Lu Chen. It was the flying backward kick. Li Zhiqing's flying backward kick was also improved. It was also one of his famous unique skills. During practice, he once had an amazing performance of breaking a wooden stake with one kick. It was definitely a powerful move. But at the moment when Li Zhiqing kicked, Lu Chen took half a step forward. He punched both of his fists at the same time, one above and one below, and hit his waist and side crotch at lightning speed. Bang! This was a good point to fight with Lu Chen. His punches were even more decisive and fierce. His hard fists were like leather, and he hit with full force. Li Zhiqing, who was in the air, could not dodge at all. His whole body spun and flew out, and he fell heavily under the ring for 5 meters away. Everyone was dumbfounded. The Wuqing dojo was silent. Chapter 775. Who would have thought that Li Zhiqing, who was locked in a battle with Lu Chen, would be knocked out of the ring? The Taekwondo master fell heavily on the plastic floor. He flipped over and pressed his hands on the ground to jump up. Although his movements were very beautiful, it could not hide his embarrassment of defeat. The air in the Wuqing dojo seemed to have frozen. Everyone's eyes were focused on him. A bitter smile appeared on Li Zhiqing's face. He shook his head and returned to the ring. At this moment, there were only 10 seconds left before the end of the first round of the 10 billion battle. Those Wu Chang disciples who were in a state of shock, bewilderment, and despair suddenly had a look of anticipation in their eyes. According to the rules of the competition, as long as Li Zhiqing did not admit defeat, he could still continue. At most, he would just lose a lot of points. There were still 2 rounds left. He still had a chance to turn the tables. However, to everyone's surprise, Li Zhiqing did not drag the time until the end of the first round. Instead, he solemnly bowed to Lu Chen and said, "The victory of this competition belongs to you, sir." He actually admitted defeat. There was an uproar in the audience. Lu Chen returned a fist salute and said, he admitted defeat. Lu Chen did not expect Li Zhiqing to admit defeat so cleanly. He could not help but admire him. As the saying goes, there is no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. As a representative of Korean Taekwondo and the founder of the Wuqing style, Li Zhiqing, who possessed great strength and ambition, placed great importance on this match. A martial artist like him must have a strong will and would not admit defeat easily because it concerned his dignity. It was precisely because of this that his calm attitude towards defeat was very praiseworthy. In the previous battles, this Taekwondo master's fighting spirit was impeccable. Many martial artists were very good at using the rules. When a situation was unfavorable, they liked to dodge, hold, delay, or even use foul tactics to prolong the match. This could not be said to be wrong. As long as the rules allowed it, there was no problem. Glory belonged to the final winner. Even if the situation before was ugly, the winner would never be blamed. However, Li Ziqing did not use such a move. It was impossible that he did not know it. It was just pride. A loss was a loss. There was no excuse. Lu Chun admired Li Ziqing for admitting defeat because he would have made the same choice if he were in Li Ziqing's shoes. Sparring was not a battle of life and death. Admitting that one was inferior to one's opponent was a form of courage. Of course, for Lu Chen's fans, they won't think so much. They only know one irrefutable fact, that is, Lu Chun won. The victory belonged to Lu Chun. Lu Chun defeated Li Ziqing before the end of the first round, which could be said to be a battle of tens of billions that attracted worldwide attention. All the fans who were paying attention to this match were all fired up, especially in the Whale TV live broadcast room. It was simply boiling. The barrage of messages and rewards was so great that the server was about to crash. My Chun is mighty. Victory belongs to us. Ha! I told you that Lu Chun would win. I was right. What happened just now was really amazing. Lu Chen's counterattack was simply a stroke of genius. No, it was a punch of God. I've decided. I want to learn China Kung Fu too. Strong, according to the official post-event statistics of Whale TV. In the 1 minute after Li Ziqing bowed his head to Lu Chun and admitted defeat, the number of online viewers of Battle of 10 Billion exceeded 10 million, and a total of 13 million messages were brushed, as well as rewards and gifts worth a total of 8 million plus. This record was not broken for the next 10 years, until Lu Chun stood on the podium of the Oscars at the same time, in Lu Chen's official tieba, in addition to the fans' crazy celebration. The beating of Park and-shin KSO became the most important theme. Everyone ridiculed and laughed to their heart's content in several of his posts. Although it was a bit unkind, wasn't it a relief? Park and-shin KSO did not respond anymore, but went offline directly and never came online again. In addition, the comprehensive ratings of the live broadcast of the competition by Zhejiang Satellite TV and Beijing Television exceeded 15%, and the number of views of QQ Video exceeded 100 million, breaking their respective records. The impact of this was very far-reaching. Many years later, when people talk about China Kung Fu or Taekwondo, this battle of 10 billion will always be indispensable. It also made China Kung Fu really begin to take root in people's hearts. While the domestic audience and fans were celebrating the victory, in the Wuqing Martial Arts headquarters, the famous referee from the United States officially announced the result of the competition. Lu Chun defeated Li Ziqing. No one expressed any objection to this. Even Li Ziqing's disciples were silent. Li Ziqing is very able to pick up and put it down. His careful planning has become a wedding dress for others. He did not show any flustered or resentful remorse, but politely invited Lu Chun to communicate in private. Lu Chun readily agreed. In an elegant room in the Wuqing Martial Arts headquarters, Li Ziqing personally brewed a pot of green tea for Lu Chun and others. After drinking 2 cups of tea, the atmosphere became harmonious. The Taekwondo master suddenly said, "Mr. Lu Chun, the China Kung Fu you created is very different from traditional China martial arts, but I can see the inheritance of boxing and leg techniques from it, which is more powerful than I thought. I admire it very much. I wonder if you have the idea of promoting this powerful skill to the world?" Lu Chun was stunned. He didn't expect Li Ziqing to ask such a question. Lu Chen's Kung Fu first came from the memories in the dream world, which belonged to Mo Ran. However, it was not enough for him to inherit it completely, but on this basis, he had his own creations and ideas. Inheritance and development, coupled with his changed talent, made Lu Chun truly powerful. Li Ziqing's eyes were very keen. As for promoting China Kung Fu, he really had such an idea. After thinking for a while, Lu Chun replied frankly, "Mr. Li Zhiqing, I do have such an idea, but now is not the time, and I don't have the time to realize my intention for the time being." He was first and foremost an artist, and his acting and singing career was his foundation. Promotion Kung Fu also needed to be carried out on the basis of developing his career, so he couldn't neglect the essentials. Li Zhiqing smiled slightly and said, "If the time is ripe in the future, I wonder if Mr. Lu Chun will be willing to work together with our Wuqing martial art headquarters to establish a world martial arts professional league competition based on Wuqing Taekwondo and China Kung Fu. World Martial Arts Professional League." Lu Chun had to admit that Li Zhiqing's proposal was very tempting and constructive. Chapter 776. I think we can agree to cooperate with Li Zhiqing. On the way back to the hotel after leaving the Wuqing Dojo headquarters, Lu Shi, who was in the same car, said he is very shrewd. Shrewd was the most suitable adjective for businessmen. It felt very inappropriate to use it on a Taekwondo master, but it turned out that Li Zhiqing's shrewdness was beyond everyone's imagination. In the case of being defeated by Lu Chun, he was not frustrated, angry, regretful, or resentful. Instead, he proposed a cooperation proposal to Lu Chun that was beneficial to both sides. It was not wrong to say that he was a little shrewd. In this way, Li Zhiqing turned the disadvantage into an advantage. As long as the two sides could reach an agreement, then this battle of 10 billion would become a good story, and the damage to his reputation would naturally be minimized. In addition, his ambitious ambitions would not suffer a major setback because of this. Instead, he would get a strong partner in his own camp, which would be more conducive to the expansion of his career. Of course, if Li Zhiqing wanted to achieve his goal, the most important thing was to get the approval and support of Lu Chun. If Lu Chun did not agree, then his efforts would be meaningless, because Lu Chun was the winner. He thought about it, nodded, and said, "I also agree. You have to talk to him about the specific cooperation plan." Lu Chun thought about it very clearly. Li Zhiqing's proposal to establish the World Martial Arts Competition was a very good idea. Once it was successful, the impact would be very far-reaching and positive. This idea could be combined with his Wuxia Great IP plan to produce a huge impetus. Although the addition of Wuqing Taekwondo would make things a lot more complicated if Lu Chun did it alone, it would take a lot of time and energy. The result was completely not worth the loss. Li Zhiqing had a plan, strength, and ability. He was undoubtedly the most suitable partner. For a long time, in addition to his solo acting career, Lu Chun had used the method of cooperation to expand his career, such as the crowdfunding website, such as Happy Entertainment, Star Factory Media, etc., all of which were successful. Lu Chun was already handy to achieve the sharing of common interests through cooperation. "Are you trying to tire me to death?" Lu Shi glared at him angrily. "You cause big trouble every now and then leave it alone. Even if I have 3 heads and 6 arms, I can't deal with it." Lu Chun smiled bitterly and said, "I don't want to either. Maybe we can recruit a few professional managers." His career was getting bigger and bigger. Chunfei Media's next step will be to expand, sign more artistes, and shoot more movies and TV series. There would only be more and more things to do. However, Lu Chun did not want his sister to work day and night for this. Money could not be earned, and family was more important. While talking, the Mercedes-Benz the three of them took arrived at the main entrance of the Shilla Hotel. As a result, as soon as Lu Chun got out of the car, a large group of reporters suddenly appeared out of nowhere. They surrounded Lu Chun as fast as they could, desperately pressing the shutter of the cameras in their hands and extending the microphones in their hands to Lu Chun. Mr. Lu Chun, how do you view this victory?" Li Zhiqing. Some of them spoke Chinese, some of them spoke English, but most of them spoke Korean. It was a messy mix of languages. Lu Chun did not expect that there would be so many paparazzi in South Korea. They were actually waiting for him at the entrance of the hotel. He could not help but be stunned. In fact, he underestimated the influence of Li Zhiqing in South Korea. When this Battle of 10 Billion was broadcast live on NBC TV, it had already caused a sensation in South Korea. As a result, Liu Chun defeated Li Zhiqing in the first round, which was beyond the expectations of countless people. Many reporters arrived outside the headquarters early, but more reporters ran to the Shilla Hotel where Liu Chun stayed to follow up the interview, because the chance of waiting for Liu Chun here was much higher. Fortunately, the security personnel appeared in time and quickly separated the reporters. They escorted Liu Chun, Chun Feier, and Liu Shi back to the hotel safely. Chun Feier said worriedly, "Do you think there will be trouble? Why don't you return home earlier?" Li Zhiqing was a hero in many South Koreans' hearts. Now that he had been defeated by Liu Chun, it was hard to say that there would not be some extreme fans who would do something irrational. Liu Shi supported him. "Yes, you two return home first. I'll stay here and talk to Li Zhiqing." Liu Chun laughed. "It's not that scary. Also, I've agreed to SYG's invitation. I'll go back in 2 days." SYG was a famous management company in South Korea. It was through their cooperation that Liu Chun successfully expanded his career to South Korea. The cooperation between the two parties had been very pleasant. This time, when Liu Chun came to Seoul to participate in the program recording, he also took the time to visit SYG's headquarters. Then, SYG made an invitation to him, hoping that Liu Chun could guide SYG's newly formed girl group, Girl. Liu Chun naturally had to fulfill his promise since he had agreed to it. At 12:15 p.m. on January 6th, Li Zhiqing posted on his personal FLO. He admitted his defeat and apologized to all his fans who had supported him. This Taekwondo master especially praised Liu Chun's strength. At the same time, he hoped to cooperate with Liu Chun and promote Wucheng-style Taekwondo and Chinese Kung Fu to the world. This was because the two had many similarities and complemented each other in many areas. 5 minutes later, Liu Chun responded to Li Zhiqing on FLO. He said that winning this victory was largely due to luck. Chapter 777. Seoul's Gangnam District, Cheontan-dong. XXX-dong, in Korea, was equivalent to XXX Street in China. Cheontan-dong was located in Korea's most prosperous and affluent Gangnam District. The latter was also seen as the core of Korea's entertainment industry. Famous entertainment agencies such as S, M, G, TRF, REOP, and so on gathered here. Every year, large numbers of professionally trained artists would emerge from Gangnam District's Cheontan-dong, Nangyeon-dong, Moojong-dong, and other places, providing a steady stream of new blood for Korea's entertainment industry. SYG's headquarters was in Cheontan-dong. It was a 12-story building. SYG was not the top entertainment agency in Korea. Its power and scale could not be compared to S, M, G. However, it had a long history. This headquarters built in the early 90s was the best proof. When Liu Chun arrived at SYG's headquarters, SYG's president, Lee Junhao, was already waiting at the door with many senior executives. Although Liu Chun had already visited here a few days ago, SYG's reception was even higher today. There were even a few major shareholders of SYG among the welcoming crowd. Liu Chun was completely surrounded by them as he stepped into the building. "It was unfortunate last time," Lee Junhao said sincerely. "I was on a business trip in Thailand and could not make it back in time. So, Mr. Liu Chun, please give me a chance to make it up to me. Let's have dinner together." The last time Liu Chun was here, the president of SYG was not in Korea. It was a missed opportunity. The first thing Lee Junhao did when he returned was to extend another warm invitation to Liu Chun. Liu Chun's second visit to YG was to maintain the friendship between him and his business partners. But this time, he only brought his assistant with him. Liu Shi and Chun Fei went shopping in Myeongdong. The three of them would return to China tomorrow. The plane tickets had already been booked, so today was their last day in Korea. Liu Chun smiled. "President Lee is too polite. Then, I'll accept your invitation." Lee Junhao immediately revealed a bright smile. The president of SYG was in her 30s. She had studied in China for many years, so she was proficient in Mandarin and Chinese culture. Not long after she returned to China, she took over her father's position and took charge of this entertainment management company. It was precisely because of this connection that Li Junhao attached great importance to the China market. He had set up an office in Beijing a long time ago and actively recommended his contracted artists to expand into the domestic market. However, SYG's capabilities were limited. The few artists that they had promoted were not doing very well in China. It was only when they started working with Lu Chan that the situation changed drastically. Relying on the good cooperation with Lu Chan, many of SYG's artists participated in the filming of Full House of Romance and Autumn in My Blood. As a result, they quickly became popular in China and Korea and brought SYG a huge source of income. Naturally, Li Junhao attached great importance to Lu Chan. As they spoke, the group took the elevator to the 5th floor of SYG headquarters. The 3rd and 4th floors were the practice rooms for the trainees, while the 5th and 6th floors were the practice rooms and studios for the debuting artists. The trainee system of Korean entertainment management companies had been around for a long time. It was very strict, and the elimination rate of trainees was very high. Even though it was only 1 floor away, one had to put in a lot of sweat and tears to get from the 4th to the 5th floor. One also needed enough luck and talent. The Korean entertainment industry had long been a complete assembly line. There were many artists debuting every year, so the competition was extremely cruel. If it had not become popular within a year or two after debuting, they would basically be eliminated. Of course, this cruelty was not limited to artists. It was the same for entertainment management companies. Today, Li Junhao had warmly invited Lu Chan to visit SYG again. Of course, the main purpose was not to treat Lu Chan to a meal, but to ask him to guide SYG's recently debuted girl group, Girl. There were a total of 7 members in Girl. They were between 17 and 19 years old and were no less than 170 meters tall. All of them had trained at SYG for more than 3 years. SYG had invested a lot of resources in Girl to groom them. At the same time, they had high hopes for Girl to become one of the top girl groups in Korea and become the company's cash cow. However, dreams were beautiful, but reality was cruel. The competition in the girl groups in Korea was fierce to begin with. Girl had just debuted when SMG released Kuro and Aryopi released Dawn Girls, suppressing Girl to the point where they could not even raise their heads. The market response was very cold. Of course, SYG would not be willing to fail. That was why they had tried so hard to invite Lu Chan, hoping to make use of Lu Chan's talent in music composition to make Girl shine. There were many girl groups in Korea, and there was a serious situation of homogeneity. The girl group members were all young and beautiful, and they could sing and dance. Therefore, the key was whether they had popular works or not. Whether it was Kuro or Dawn Girls, they had master-level songwriters who wrote songs for them. Their debut songs were a huge success. In comparison, Girl was much worse in this aspect. Hello, Sensei Lu Chan. In Girl's exclusive practice room, 7 young and beautiful girls were wearing tight practice skirts, revealing their slender and fair thighs. They stood in a row and bowed to greet Lu Chan. What's more, he was using perfect Chinese. Even though Lu Chan was experienced and knowledgeable, he could not help but feel a little dizzy. He quickly nodded and said hello. Girl's manager who accompanied Lu Chan quickly introduced, Sensei Lu Chan, this is Song Inghui. The girl whose name was called stepped forward and bowed again. Hello, Sensei Lu Chan. Song Inghui was the leader of Girl and had the best figure in the group. She was quite bold. While greeting Lu Chan, she also cast a fiery gaze at him. In today's South Korea, Lu Chan was undoubtedly the most popular Chinese star. The number of his fans was even more than that of many of South Korea's A-list artists. The trilogy of Autumn in My Heart, Full House of Romance, and You from the Star had given Lu Chan an extraordinary position in the South Korean entertainment industry. For new artists like Song Inghui, who had just debuted, it had a different kind of attraction. Most importantly, Lu Chan also held the key to making people famous. Lu Chen did not care too much because he had seen many female fans looking at him with similar gazes. Under the introduction of his manager, he got to know all the members of Girl one by one. It had to be said that being surrounded by so many beautiful girls and being treated as fans to their idols felt very pleasant. However, Lu Chen was not an ordinary person after all. He had enough willpower. After the introduction, he said straightforwardly, "Please perform a work." Unsurprisingly, Lu Chen's request was quickly carried out. Chapter 778. The song that Girl performed for Lu Chen was their debut single, Passion. SYG had high hopes for Girl. Of course, they would not be careless with their debut work. The lyrics and arrangement of Passion were all created by famous artists. Just the choreography alone took them nearly a month to practice. Even the filming of the music video was done with the same emphasis on perfection. Coupled with the publicity, SYG could be said to have spent a lot of money, hoping that Girl would become an instant hit. However, it was very unfortunate that Girl encountered Kuro and Dawn Girls as soon as they debuted. The result was a terrible defeat. Passion only stayed on the K-pop charts for 2 weeks before there was no news, and it was ranked last. This put SYG and Girl in an awkward position, and their subsequent promotions were greatly affected. Inviting Lu Chen could be said to be SYG's move to save Girl. As the accompaniment sounded, the 7 beautiful girls danced a hot dance to the melody. Their performance was very serious, and the rhythm of their dance movements was very strong. Moreover, their cooperation with each other was very tacit, which was pleasing to the eye. In terms of dancing, the average level of Korean artists could be said to be the best in Asia, especially boy or girl groups. They often went through a long period of arduous training, and with excellent choreography, they contributed a lot to the popularity of the Korean wave. Girls' dance was also professional, and they put in 120% of their effort, which made Lu Chen secretly admire them. The rarest thing was that Girl danced and sang at the same time. They were singing for real instead of lip-syncing. The 7 girls looked neat, youthful, beautiful, and had their own characteristics. They were hard-working and capable, and with the support of the company they signed with, it was reasonable to say that it would be very easy for them to become famous. However, they were really unlucky. Not only did they encounter a strong opponent, but their debut song was also lackluster. Passion had a strong rhythm and melody, and the climax was remarkable. However, there was nothing special about it or anything that could make people addicted to it. The style was similar to many Korean pop songs. Lu Chen had a certain understanding of K-pop, so he quickly realized the problem. He fell into deep thought. After Girl's performance ended, they looked at the silent Lu Chen. They couldn't help but look at each other, a little at a loss of what to do. With Lu Chen's current popularity and influence in Korea, if he was willing to recommend Girl on FLO, Girl would definitely gain a wave of fans and even get out of her current awkward situation. However, they also knew very well that even the president of SYG, Lee Junhao, might not have the face to make Lu Chen put in a good word for him. Although both parties had a long and friendly cooperation, in reality, SYG relied more on Lu Chen. Now, Lu Chen's evaluation of their performance was very important. The girls nervously looked at Lu Chen, who was sitting on the chair. Their eyes were filled with anxiety and expectation. The senior members of SYG in the practice room, including Lee Junhao, did not speak. They were afraid that they would disturb Lu Chen's thoughts. The atmosphere in the room was heavy. After a while, Lu Chen smiled and said, "Not bad. You all danced well and sang well." Hearing Lu Chen's positive evaluation, the girls of Girl could not help but feel relieved and smiled sweetly. Lee Junhao smiled bitterly and said, "But this song won't do. She was beautiful, danced well, and sang well. Only the song would not do." Lee Junhao helped Lu Chen say what he had not said. Lu Chen smiled and said, "The song lacks some characteristics. I don't have any good guidance in terms of dancing and singing, so I'll write a song for Girl." Lu Chen wanted to write a song for Girl? Lee Junhao was overjoyed. She had invited Lu Chen to teach Girl because she wanted to use Lu Chen's fame to promote Girl. She did not expect Lu Chen to be willing to personally write for Girl. She knew that Lu Chen was a very talented singer and composer. He had extraordinary talent in music. However, in the past year, Lu Chen had focused on his development in the film industry and had not released a new album for some time. In addition, Li Jinhao also knew that Lu Chen's price for writing songs was very high. The price of a song could easily crush all the songs in Asia. It was the top tier in Europe and America. It was not that SYG could not afford it, but whether Lu Chen was willing to do it, whether his song would be suitable for Girl, and whether it would be suitable for the Korean market were all problems. Now that Lu Chen had taken the initiative to suggest it, the situation was completely different. If he did not have enough confidence or good inspiration, she believed that Lu Chen would not have said it. That's really great. The girls of Girl were very smart. When they saw Li Jinhao smiling, they looked at each other and then bowed to Lu Chen in unison. Thank you, Teacher Lu Chen. Some of them spoke Mandarin, while others spoke Korean. Their voices were crisp and cute. Lu Chen chuckled and gestured to his assistant to bring his briefcase over. Then, he took out his computer from it. For this trip to Korea, he had brought along a supercomputer that he had bought not long ago. It was installed with a few sets of commonly used composing software, so that it would be convenient for him to use when he was out and about. Since he had agreed, Lu Chen simply started composing on the spot. Because Girl was currently focusing on the Korean market, he did not need to think about the lyrics and directly typed out the music score. His fingers flew across the keyboard, and in just a few minutes, he had finished writing a song. The surrounding senior management of SYG were all dumbfounded. They felt that Lu Chen's songwriting was like child's play. All he had to do was type a few times on the keyboard, and he could even sell a song for 10 to 20 million won. For such custom-made works, the composer often had to spend a week or two or even more to prepare. They had to rack their brains to find inspiration and then fill in the inspiration. Finally, the final product had to be revised repeatedly. They were all suspicious that Lu Chen was just brushing them off. Did he think that it would be fine if he just casually passed it to them? Lu Chen did not care what they were thinking. He asked Li Jinhao if he could borrow the help of a few professionals to complete the first version of the song. It was not the first time he had done such a thing, and he did not care if it was shocking. Li Jinhao could not believe it either, but she immediately complied with Lu Chen's request. Therefore, Lu Chen borrowed SYG staff and equipment and spent about 2 hours to turn this song that was tailor-made for Girl into a finished product. Of course, due to the limited time, the content and details of the arrangement could not be very rich. However, the basic melody, rhythm, timbre, and so on were all there. If he added in the lyrics, it would be a complete work. After it was completed, Lu Chen played the final product in the testing room. Many of the senior management of SYG, including Li Jinhao, as well as the 7 girls from Girl, listened to this work that only had background music. After listening to it, everyone's expressions were colorful. Chapter 779. In the eyes of many of SYG senior management, what they had seen today was an absolute miracle. God said, "Let there be light," and so there was light. Lu Chen said he would write a song for Girl, and so he did. Although it was a work without lyrics, the quality was so high that it was hard to believe that it was composed in a few minutes. The melody of the song was very light, and the unique rhythm had a strong toxicity. Just hearing it once would make one hum a few lines. It had a magical power that made people listen to it again and again. These SYG executives were not idle people. Their appreciation of pop music was not bad, and some were even professionals. That was why they were so shocked. With this song, as long as it was matched with lyrics and choreography, it would not be a dream for Girl to make a comeback. In the Korean pop music scene, there were many examples of people becoming famous overnight because of one song. It was not a myth for a few classic songs to support a popular girl group, especially in the current situation where Korean pop music was highly homogenized and the audience was tired of it. They knew all too well the power of a good song. The girls of Girl looked at Lu Chen with stars in their eyes, each of them full of joy and admiration. The girls' love for this work came from the bottom of their hearts. The melody and rhythm hit their hearts, and they could not wait to try it out. Ever since their debut, they had been under a lot of pressure. The response to their debut single was mediocre. Faced with strong competitors, although they worked hard, they could not achieve success. At this moment, to them, Lu Chun was like an angel who had descended to the mortal world to save them from their suffering. The girls' burning gazes made Lu Chun feel a little overwhelmed. He coughed twice and said, "That's it for now. Get someone else to write the lyrics, and the arrangement needs to be perfected." Li Jinhao hurriedly said, "Thank you so much. You've worked hard. I will get someone to draft the copyright transfer contract. Please rest assured." The president of SYG only had one thought in her mind, and that was to sign the contract as soon as possible. She would never forgive herself if she missed this song. Most importantly, with one song, there would naturally be a second song. With the support of a talented musical genius like Lu Chun, would girl be afraid of not being able to beat Kuro and Dawn Maiden? Therefore, she didn't care about the cost at all. No matter how much Lu Chun asked, she would agree unconditionally. Lu Chun smiled and said, "You can discuss the contract with Lush." Li Jinhao thought of something and said, "Mr. Lu Chun, what's the name of this song?" Although Lu Chun had asked SYG to add their own lyrics, Li Jinhao still hoped that Lu Chun could give the work a name. This was very important. Lu Chun smiled and said, "Just call her G." G. Li Jinhao's eyes lit up and he nodded thoughtfully. Very good title. Lu Chun smiled but said nothing. G meant surprise in Korean. In the dream world, this song, G, was originally one of the representative works of a very famous Korean girl group. It had been popular for a time and won many awards. It had extraordinary magic. The sky had darkened by the time the audition ended. At night, Li Jinhao invited Lu Chun to a banquet at the famous Hanjiang Hotel. Girl and many of the higher-ups of SYG accompanied them and were very attentive. Lu Chun rarely drank, but he couldn't resist the enthusiasm of the girls and girl. He drank a bottle of traditional Korean wine, bamboo charcoal, and was a little tipsy in the end. Li Jinhao also drank a few glasses of wine. She smiled and said, "Mr. Lu Chun, I think you're a little drunk. Letting we send you upstairs to rest. I've already booked a room here." As she spoke, she gave Song Ying-hui, who was sitting beside Lu Chun, a look. Song Ying-hui was the leader of girl. Her overall quality was the best among the 7 girls. Her appearance wasn't top-notch, but her figure was outstanding, especially her pair of long legs. Seeing Li Jinhao's hint, Song Ying-hui immediately understood and held on to Lu Chun's arm. Her bouncy breast pressed tightly against his arm and said sweetly, "Teacher Lu Chun, let me send you upstairs." To be honest, such a youthful and beautiful girl with a soft voice and exotic charm was a great temptation for Lu Chun. Moreover, Li Jinhao's hint was quite obvious. However, Lu Chun was not drunk. He smiled and said, "Thank you for your warm hospitality, President Li, but I won't be staying here tonight. My girlfriend is still waiting for me in the hotel." His tone was gentle, but his will was very firm. Li Jinhao was stunned, then smiled and said, "All right then, I'll get someone to send you back." Politely declining Li Jinhao's good intentions and ignoring Song Ying-hui's resentment, Lu Chun and his assistant took the car sent by SYG back to Hotel Shilla. This bunch of Koreans. In the car, Zhang Xiaofeng, the assistant who had followed Lu Chun to Korea, said so many tricks. The Korean drinking culture was also very popular. The senior management of SYG were very good at persuading people to drink. If not for Zhang Xiaofeng's help that night, Lu Chun would probably be lying on the floor. But what Zhang Xiaofeng said was not just that. Lu Chun laughed involuntarily. He had long heard of the unspoken rules in the Korean entertainment industry, but he did not expect it to happen to him. It was just that Li Jinhao's honey trap was really playing with the wrong target. Unlike those artists who became unscrupulous after becoming famous, Lu Chun had always kept his bottom line in the huge entertainment industry. The more famous he was, the more careful he was with his words and actions. It was actually very easy for a person to fall into depravity. It was very difficult to stay clean in the entertainment industry that was filled with countless temptations, but he had his own persistence. Therefore, even if Chunfa was not here in Korea, Luchin would not be tempted by Song Yinghui. Back in the room, Chun Fei was sitting in the living room chatting with Lu Shi. There were bags of various sizes on the carpet in the living room. It looked like they had gained a lot today. Seeing the drunken Lu Chun return, Chun Fei hurriedly got up to support him. Lu Shi said angrily, "Why did you drink so much? It stinks." Lu Chun smiled bitterly. "I didn't want to drink too much. The people from SYG were really too passionate. I really couldn't handle it. Luckily, Brother Zhang was here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to come back tonight." He had a lingering fear just thinking about it. If he had been drunk and completely sinned, it would be hard to say what would have happened next. Of course, Li Jinhao did not have any ill intentions towards him, but her good intentions were even more unbearable. Chun Fei laughed. "Is it because you have a beautiful girl with you that you can't bear to come back?" Lu Chen laughed. "Hurry up and take a bath. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain." On the 8th of January, Lu Chun ended his trip to Korea and returned to Beijing with Chun Fei, Lu Shi, and the rest. Chapter 780. When Lu Chun returned to Beijing, the first snow of a new year had just fallen in the capital. The snow was so heavy that the flight from Seoul to Beijing was delayed for more than 5 hours. Therefore, when they arrived at Beijing International Airport, it was already past 11 o'clock in the evening. What surprised Lu Chun was that there were still a large number of fans in the terminal to pick him up when the flight was delayed for such a long time. Seeing Lu Chun and others coming out of the passenger passage, these fans immediately let out earth-shattering cheers. They held up various posters, support signs, flowers, gifts, and so on. The scene was quite amazing. For the current Lu Chun, it was normal to meet fans or reporters who came to pick him up at the airport. Because his popularity was so high, there was no need to arrange professional fans at all. There were still a lot of real fans to support him. It was said that the airline company specialized in selling the flight information of celebrity artists to the fan groups, so the fans could know the movements of their idols at any time and surround the airport. In this regard, Lu Chun had long been used to it. But today it snowed for a day, the plane was delayed for such a long time, and so many fans waited for his return. It really made him very touched and even embarrassed. "Thank you." Lu Chun took the flowers and gifts from the hands of 2 female fans and smiled to express his gratitude. Several female fans who squeezed at the front were so excited that their faces were red. The people behind them tightly surrounded them, causing chaos at the scene. Fortunately, the airport arranged enough personnel to maintain order. According to the usual practice, Lu Chun should speed up and leave. The car to pick him up was already waiting outside. But today's situation was really special. He really couldn't leave the fans who had waited for him for such a long time. So he took the initiative to take the crowd to the side and signed autographs and took photos for these fans one by one. Of course, the fans were overjoyed and spontaneously lined up with good manners. Their hard waiting was finally not in vain. Not only could they get Lu Chun's autograph, but they also got Chun Fei's. It was a great deal. Lu Chun signed a fan's autograph and asked, "Now that the subway has stopped, how are you going to go back?" The fan replied, "My friend and I are going to take a taxi back." Take a taxi? Lu Chun could not help but frown. It was already very late, and the most convenient and fast subway was already out of service. There were definitely taxis at the airport, but it was probably very difficult to get one due to the snow, and there were so many fans. He immediately said to Lu Shi, "Sister, can you call and ask if you can get a few cars to send them back?" Lu Shi nodded and immediately called the bus. She helped Lu Chun manage the studio and Chun Fei Media and built up a considerable network in the capital. This was naturally not a problem for her. It only took a few minutes for Lu Shi to contact a car. She relied on her relationship with Beijing television. When the fans heard that Lu Chun had specially arranged a bus for them to go back, there was no need to mention how considerate and moved they were. They posted photos in their respective blogs and circles of friends, and all of them were very happy. Do you have an idol that warms your heart? When other fans saw this, They all expressed their envy and jealousy. Some even said that they would rush to the airport immediately. After this torment, when Lu Chun and Chan Feier returned home, it was already past 1 o'clock in the morning. Both of them were exhausted to death. After a simple wash, they went to bed and slept until dawn. The next day, Lu Chun and Chan Feier rushed to the headquarters of Central TV together. The two of them were here to participate in the first official rehearsal of the 2018 Spring Festival Gala. Central TV's rehearsal was different from ordinary galas. Ordinary galas had loose requirements for the participating stars. Usually, the stars did not need to participate in the rehearsal or only needed to participate once. However, Central TV was different. No matter how big the stars were, they had to participate in the official rehearsal to be selected for the Spring Festival Gala. Unless there was a special reason, they could not ask for leave. If they could not accept this rule, then they could forget about this stage that was watched by millions of people. In the past, the Spring Festival Gala was actually not so strict, especially when it came to Hong Kong and Taiwanese stars. However, in recent years, this rule had been implemented very well, and there have been stars who were kicked out because of this. For this year's Spring Festival Gala, Lu Chun and Chan Feier both had performances, so the first rehearsal was definitely not to be missed. It was not that the two of them valued the Spring Festival Gala very much, but there was no need to break the rules. Therefore, they still took it very seriously and rushed over more than an hour in advance. The Spring Festival Gala's rehearsal was held in Central TV's Broadcasting Studio 1. When the two of them entered, they went through multiple security checks. In order to prevent the surging social media and internet celebrities from entering the Spring Festival Gala's rehearsal site to secretly take pictures and leak the contents of the Spring Festival Gala, Central TV's confidentiality of the first rehearsal could be said to be airtight. All bags and mobile phones of the audience were not allowed inside, and there were also strict rules for reporters and entertainers. When the two of them appeared backstage in the broadcasting studio, it immediately attracted the attention of countless people. Recently, in terms of the limelight, no one in the domestic entertainment industry could compare to Lu Chun, especially since he had just defeated Taekwondo master Li Ziqing in South Korea. The media was abuzz, and he was almost put on a pedestal. It really makes people not convinced. Lu Chun has the height, the appearance, the talent, the ability to write and fight, and the skill is extraordinary. He is simply the perfect big star. Whether it was out of sincerity or insincerity, regardless of whether they were friends or not, the celebrities who were already waiting backstage all greeted Lu Chun and Chan Feier with a smile or warmly. Among them, there were also friends of the two, such as Liu Gangsheng, Tan Hong, etc. In addition to these two evergreen trees in the industry, there were also many big stars and emerging artists. It could be said that the stars were shining. Liu Gangsheng, like Chan Feier, was participating in the Spring Festival Gala for the third time this year. He flew to Beijing a few days ago. Now that they saw Lu Chun, everyone was naturally happy to be reunited after a long time. Tan Hong had originally retired from the music industry, but because of the invitation of the great director Chen Guoji, he also came. However, he would not be appearing alone, but participating in a singing program with a group of stars. And the song for the chorus was written by Lu Chun. Tan Hong opened his arms and gave him a strong hug. He praised, "You have won glory for the country. Come to my house for dinner tonight. Your sister-in-law said that she wants to welcome a hero." Lu Chun laughed and said, "How can I be considered a hero? Thank you so much, sister-in-law." As the two of them were chatting and laughing, Chen Guoji appeared backstage. The first official rehearsal for the Spring Festival Gala was about to begin. Chapter 781. According to previous year's practices, a Spring Festival Gala usually had 4.5 hours of content, and rehearsals lasted even longer. No matter how big the names were, even after they finished rehearsing, they could not leave immediately. This was because they still had to analyze and judge the effects of the program, so they often had to stay for more than half a day. Lunch was provided by Central TV. Whether it was celebrities, guest artists, extras, or staff, they all ate boxed lunches, and the quality of the lunches was the same. Of course, celebrities who were not used to eating boxed lunches could prepare their own meals, but basically no one would do that. Lu Chun and Chen Feier were no exception. They received their own boxed lunches during the lunch break. Even though Central TV's boxed lunches were the standard price of 58 yuan, there were countless people in the industry who wanted to eat this boxed lunches. Every year, celebrities, big or small, racked their brains to get in, but only a few succeeded. This was the first time Lu Chun had eaten a boxed lunchbox from Central TV. All the meat is for you. Chen Feier picked out the beef from the lunchbox and put it into Lu Chun's lunchbox. I weighed it this morning, and it's half a caddy heavier. I want to lose 1 caddy. Lu Chun did not know whether to laugh or cry. You still need to lose? Not eating meat is not good for your health. Chen Feier picked up the last piece of meat with his chopsticks and stuffed it into his mouth. I know what I'm doing. Stop nagging. Lu Chun's mouth was stuffed with meat. He shook his head speechlessly. Then, he picked up his own radish strips and broccoli for Chen Feier. The two of them hid in a corner and were lovey-dovey. But the others who saw them felt suffocated, especially those single dogs who were fed a big mouthful of dog food. Moreover, he kept on feeding them until someone stood up fearlessly. Cough, cough. A loud cough forced Lu Chun to stop his inhumane public display of affection. He turned his head and was almost blinded. What a big bald head. Lu Chun quickly stood up and greeted politely. Hello, Teacher Gao. There were 3 famous baldies in the entertainment industry. They were all big shots in their respective industries. One was a pop singer, one was a movie actor, and the last one was the skit artist in front of them, Gao Dushing. He had a big bald head, squinting eyes, a bulbous nose, thick lips. The way he smiled had a charm that made people laugh. This was a face that everyone in the country was very familiar with. It was an ugly face that had a unique personality. But Gao Dushing did not live up to the name of an artist because of other people's flattery, but because of the reputation he had accumulated in his more than 20 years of acting career. He was a senior who truly excelled in both virtue and skill. Disregarding everything else, just the Spring Festival Gala alone, he had participated in it 7 times. This year would be his 8th. Chen Feier did not dare to neglect this senior in the industry. He quickly put down the lunchbox and stood up to greet him. Gao Dushing smiled and said, "Take a seat. I'm just here to have a chat. Sorry for disturbing you." Lu Chun and Chen Feier were a little embarrassed. Lu Chun quickly said, "Not at all. We just finished eating." Gao Dushing sat down with a smile and said to him, "Actually, I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. It's just that the timing was not right. Today, I finally got the chance." Gao Dushing took the initiative to find Lu Chun. He wanted to talk to Lu Chun about the skit script written by Lu Chun. At that time, the executive director of this year's Spring Festival Gala, Chen Guoji, found Lu Chun and invited Lu Chun to participate in the Spring Festival Gala of the Year of the Dog. As a result, Lu Chun took out 2 original works and a skit script and threw them to the great director. Chen Guoji originally expected Lu Chun to come up with a good program. He did not expect Lu Chun to come up with 3, and all of them were excellent, which made him unable to give them up. However, it was not easy for Chen Guoji to put all 3 programs on the Spring Festival Gala. First of all, he did not have the final say in the Spring Festival Gala. He had to face all kinds of interests, so it was impossible for him to do as he pleased. But in the end, Chen Guoji still eliminated the difficulties and pushed Lu Chun's works as the focus of the program. For this reason, he specially invited many big names to ensure the effect of the program. For example, Chen Guoji gave the skit written by Lu Chun to Gao Dushing. The latter's image not only matched the setting of the characters in the script, but his acting skills were enough to crush a lot of his peers. It should be known that Lu Chun's skit had squeezed out another program of the same kind that had already been selected. No one said it openly, but there were a lot of people talking about it behind it. God knew how many pairs of eyes were watching it. Gao Dushing and Chen Guoji had been friends for many years, so he understood the weight of it. Out of a serious and responsible attitude towards work, he took the initiative to talk to the original author, Lu Chun, during the lunch break. It sounded like a very normal thing. There was nothing to fuss about when actors and scriptwriters communicated. But in fact, many actors nowadays did not care about the author at all. You just had to write the script, and how you acted was up to me. There was no need for you to tell me what to do. That was the director's job. In fact, many celebrity artists did not even listen to the director's words and often acted on their own. Gao Dishing was a big name in the industry. When he appeared on the stage of the Spring Festival Gala, Lu Chun was still running around naked. Moreover, no matter how famous Lu Chun was, they were not on the same level as him. He did not need to care about Lu Chun at all. But Gao Dishing used a very equal and even humble attitude to communicate with Lu Chun about the creative intention, plot idea, spiritual connotation, and so on of the work. Lu Chun naturally told him everything he knew. And when it came to analyzing the work, he felt that he was not as good as Gao Dishing. This made Lu Chun feel rather ashamed. After all, the source of his work was his memories from the dream world. The exchange between the two of them lasted for more than an hour until the staff assistant came over to remind him. Gao Dishing said to Lu Chun, "This is the best script I've received in the past 10 years. Lu Chun, I really hope that you can create a few more scripts. We're really lacking good scripts right now." Gao Dishing was speaking from the bottom of his heart. In recent years, the viewership ratings of Central TV's Spring Festival Gala had been declining year by year. The audience's evaluation of language shows was getting worse and worse, and he was feeling anxious about it. The script that Lu Chun had brought out really made Gao Dishing feel like he had finally met a good rain after a long drought. Lu Chun nodded and said, "Teacher Gao, I'll do my best." Gao Dishing smiled in relief. "Thank you." This word of thanks was not only for himself, but also for the entire skit industry. The afternoon rehearsal did not end until 4 p.m., but Lu Chun was not able to leave early because a director from Central TV personally came over to invite him for a discussion. And the content of the discussion was about the martial arts movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, that Chun Fei Media would start shooting after the Spring Festival. Chapter 782. Many people didn't know that CCTV also made movies. It had a professional film production department, shooting more than a dozen movies every year. Whether in terms of scale, strength, or output, it was not inferior to a large movie company. However, CCTV's movies were mainly documentaries, followed by self-produced dramas. They were not broadcasted in cinemas, but on their own movie channel. At the same time, they were sold overseas. In recent years, CCTV's film department began to set foot in the field of commercial movies. They had participated in the shooting and production of many commercial blockbusters and achieved quite good results. Of course, from the point of view of a commercial movie company, it was undoubtedly a good thing to be able to cooperate with CCTV. CCTV's strength was beyond doubt. Its publicity and promotion ability were unparalleled, and its production and shooting standards were among the best in the country. However, CCTV's brand was too big, and they were very picky. Not everyone was qualified to cooperate with them. Lu Chun had been in the film and television industry for a long time, so he naturally knew some inside stories. Therefore, when the director of CCTV's film production department, Dong Fong Hao, personally came to him to discuss the cooperation of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, he was more or less a little surprised. Our department became independent at the end of last year. Dong Fong Hao was in his 40s. He was handsome and well-dressed, a typical successful man. He didn't have much of the temperament of a person in the system. He was more like an elite in the business world. In response to Lu Chun's doubts, he smiled and explained, "A new video company has been set up to engage in the shooting, production, and promotion of movies. Although it is still under CCTV, it is responsible for its own profits and losses." Lu Chun was suddenly enlightened. Naturally, he was very clear about Dong Fong Hao's purpose. New Video was like a son of CCTV's boss. No, to be more accurate, it was a grandson, and it was one of them. Originally, he had been raised in the big house with good food and drinks, but now he had set up his own company. It was definitely not a bad thing to set up an independent company. It meant that he would have more autonomy. However, although they were still related by blood, the boss did not care about his grandson's food and drink. In the future, the grandson would have to rely on himself. Dong Fanghao was also the general manager of New Video. He had a large number of people under him. How could he not worry? Under the circumstances that they couldn't completely rely on CCTV, New Video naturally couldn't do anything. Taking the initiative to find business opportunities and expand the market was their way of survival. Even so, the background of the new movie was something that no one could ignore. Lucien couldn't help but be interested. He thought for a while and said, "Director Dong, I'm very happy to cooperate with New Video. But at present, the smiling, the proud swordsman already has many partners, so I'm afraid we need to sit down and discuss the specific cooperation plan." After Chinfei Media released the news that they were going to shoot the smiling, proud wanderer, many people came to their door. In addition to the existing partners, all the major domestic film companies and cinemas basically expressed their interest in cooperating with them. Not to mention the people in the circle, there are also a lot of people outside the circle waving money and breaking the threshold. Because of the great influence of the smiling, the proud martial artist in China, it had created a large number of fans of new wuxia novels. With the marketing and promotion of Chinfei Media, it had become a popular IP with great market potential. The most important thing was that Lu Chun and Chun Feier were both going to act in The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, and Chen Guoji was the director. With these three big shots, it would be hard for them to make a loss unless they made a mess. Has Chinfei Media ever done any unprofitable business? The answer was obviously no. Therefore, it was normal for New Video to want to get involved. Lu Chun also welcomed it. It didn't matter who he wanted to cooperate with. The key was whether it could bring profits. New Video had enough qualifications, but the premise was that they couldn't be too greedy. Lu Chun also had to take care of the interests of all sides. It had only been more than 3 years since his debut. Lu Chun had grown from a nobody in an underground house to a top star with more than 1 billion assets. In addition to the wealth of memories from the dream world, he also understood the principle of a just cause enjoys abundant support, while an unjust cause finds little support. He was willing to give up the immediate benefits in exchange for long-term development. People who liked to eat alone were not welcomed anywhere. But knowing how to share benefits didn't mean that he didn't have his own persistence and bottom line. Lu Chun had always done well in this aspect. Dong Fanghao said seriously, "Of course, I came here today mainly to meet you, Mr. Lu. We will have many opportunities to cooperate in the future. Even if we don't succeed this time, there will be next time." Lu Chun smiled and said, "Thank you for your understanding, Director Dong." The two looked at each other and smiled. Dong Fanghao stood up and was ready to leave because Lu Chun was here for rehearsal today. Lu Chun's expression changed. He wanted to say something, but he hesitated. He didn't expect Dong Fanghao to be so sensitive. He immediately smiled and asked, "Mr. Lu, what do you want to say?" He sat down again and said, "As long as I can help, I'm fine with it." Lu Chun was hesitating whether to say it or not. Seeing Dong Fanghao's attitude, he simply said it. "I have an idea." As he said this, he asked his assistant to bring a tablet and open the document stored in it for Dong Fanghao to see. Lu Chun's idea didn't come up for a long time. It appeared during his martial arts competition with Li Zheching in South Korea. That was to hold a large-scale casting event for the movie The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. The form of the casting event was based on the popular reality TV shows, and the selected targets were young people who had practiced martial arts, such as traditional martial arts, sanda, kickboxing, taekwondo, judo, etc. The purpose was to select the outstanding people from them to participate in the movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer TV series, and the shooting and production of the future wuxia IP. Lu Chun's preparation for the wuxia IP plan began very early. The Lu family squad was one of the teams he created for this plan. However, the current number of members in the Lu family squad was not large. It was not enough to shoot a wuxia movie. If it was shooting a long TV series, it would be even worse. Therefore, The expansion of the Liu family class was imperative, and holding a casting event was undoubtedly the most convenient and fast way to select excellent talents. Originally, Liu Chun planned to cooperate with Beijing Television, but today he met Dong Fanghao. He wondered if he could cooperate with Central TV to produce this talent show, because whether it was strength or influence, Central TV could easily crush Beijing Television. Because the movie was about to start shooting, he didn't leave too much time for this event, so he needed a strong partner to solve many problems. If Central TV was interested, then it would undoubtedly be the best choice. As for this movie casting activity, Liu Chun named its theme, "The Storms of the Eight Directions Will Meet in the Capital." Chapter 783. The Eight Storms Will Meet in the Capital. Dong Fanghao was instantly moved by the program plan that Liu Chun came up with. His current position is the director of CCTV Film Production Department and the general manager of New Video. His main business is film projects, but this does not mean that he is not familiar with the popular talent shows. On the contrary, Dong Fanghao is very clear that CCTV attaches great importance to variety shows at present. They have been brewing and preparing a number of variety entertainment brand programs to actively respond to the challenges from major local satellite TV stations. Today's CCTV is no longer the invincible and crushing ratings hegemon 20 years ago. Although no one can shake its position as the leader, it has been surpassed by the satellite TV stations in many aspects. For example, Shonen TV, Zhejiang Satellite TV, Huhai Satellite TV, and even Beijing Television have their own competitive products to divide the market, mainly focusing on TV series and variety shows. The most typical example is undoubtedly Liu Chun's cooperation with Zhejiang Satellite TV and Beijing Satellite TV on several TV series. In terms of ratings, CCTV's primetime TV series have been defeated. There is also the reality singing talent show, The Voice of China, whose ratings are also disdainful. With the help of the cooperation with Liu Chun, the two major satellite TV stations made a lot of money, especially Beijing Television. Many people came to CCTV and their voices were much rougher. It would be a lie to say that CCTV doesn't care about this and is not the least bit jealous. Now that Liu Chun has taken the initiative to seek cooperation with CCTV and has come up with a very operable talent show plan that will inevitably have a major impact, how can Dong Fanghao remain indifferent? Even though he wasn't in charge of this, it was more than enough for him to get the credit of recommending him. After a hurried glance at the document on the computer, Dong Fanghao immediately said, "I will call Director Zhao Gang over right away. He is the director of the program department of the Variety Channel." Liu Chun smiled and said, "Don't be so anxious, Director Dong. I will send this plan to you first, and then we will set a time to talk about it in detail. Tomorrow or the day after tomorrow is fine." He is not afraid that the plan will be leaked because this program plan is completely aimed at the smiling, proud wanderer. It is useless for others to copy it, and Dong Fanghao is not that stupid. Dong Fanghao was anxious. "Can't we do it at night?" Director Dong couldn't wait to finalize it on the spot to avoid any more problems. However, Liu Chun was very apologetic. "I really don't have time tonight. I promised to go to Brother Tan Hong's house for a gathering, so..." Of course, Dong Fanghao couldn't force him, so he rescheduled the appointment to tomorrow. The afternoon rehearsal lasted until 5 p.m. before it ended. Although Central TV had given out buffet vouchers, other than the extras and staff, basically no one would be greedy for this meal. Liu Chun and Chun Fei were no exception. The two of them went to Tan Hong's house to try Song Wanliu's cooking. After Tan Hong retired from the music industry, Liu Chun became even more familiar with him. It was not the first time that he had been a guest at his home. He was also very familiar with Tan Hong's wife and daughter. There were not only two guests, but Liu Gangsheng was also there. Liu Gangsheng and Tan Hong have known each other for many years. Although one is in Xiangjiang and the other is in Beijing, and it is rare for them to bump into each other every 2 to 3 years, Liu Gangsheng will always get together with Tan Hong to chat whenever he is in Beijing. This time, Lu Gangsheng came to Beijing for the Spring Festival Gala rehearsal, so he had to visit a few old friends. When they arrived at Tan Hong's house, Song Wanlu had already prepared the meal. Everyone is friends, so there is no need for formalities. Soon, they sat down to eat and drink, and the atmosphere was very lively. After the family dinner, Chun Fei helped Song Wanlu clear the dishes, while Tan Hong, Lu Chun, and Lu Gangsheng sat in the living room, drinking tea and chatting. The three of them inevitably talked about Lu Chen's recent trip to Korea. Even a person like Tan Hong, who has a mild personality, was full of praise for Lu Chen's victory over Li Ziqing. Lu Gangsheng laughed and said, "I also watched the live broadcast. Young Chun is indeed very good. Even my two bodyguards are very impressed, saying that they are no match for you at all." The bodyguards that Lu Gangsheng hired were naturally not ordinary people. To be able to convince them, of course, it was because of his ability. Lu Chan said a few humble words, and then talked about the upcoming movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, as well as preparing for the casting of this movie. Speaking of this, Lu Gangsheng really had something to say. "I don't care about your casting, but the role of Xiang Wentian belongs to me." Lu Gangsheng's role in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was something that was confirmed a long time ago. But in terms of the role, this king of Xiangjiang was still uncertain at that time. There were two roles that he liked, namely Lu Zhengfeng and Xiang Wentian. Now, he finally made a decision. With Lu Gangsheng's ability and fame, if he wanted to make a movie, a lot of movie companies would definitely kneel down and give him the script for him to choose. He would definitely be the absolute leading role. And Lu Gangsheng was willing to play a supporting role in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. In addition to the factor of his friendship with Lu Chun, the most important factor was that he was interested in the script and was looking forward to new challenges in acting. Lu Chun laughed and said, "Of course, no problem." He had already kept the two roles of Lu Zhengfeng and Xiang Wentian, waiting for Lu Gangsheng's decision. Although the two supporting roles didn't have many scenes, with Lu Gangsheng's participation, the box office could at least increase by 100 million. Lu Gangsheng still felt it was a pity. Actually, Lu Zhengfeng is not bad. Lu Chan thought of something and immediately said to Tan Hong, "Brother Tan, why don't you play Lu Zhengfeng?" Tan Hong looked confused. After a while, he understood and shook his head. "You mean you want me to act? Then I really can't." Tan Hong had been famous in the pop music industry for many years. Except for a lot of music videos, he really hadn't acted in any serious movies, let alone a big commercial production like The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, so he instinctively refused. But Lu Gangsheng praised. "Good. Tan Sheng is very suitable to play Lu Zhengfeng. I support him." Lu Chen encouraged. "There's nothing wrong with it. There aren't many scenes. It's not a big deal to shoot a few more times." Tan Hong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. When he was about to insist on refusing, Song Wanlu came over with Chan Fei and asked curiously, "What are you talking about? What is it?" Lu Chun smiled and said, "Sister-in-law, we're talking about making a movie. I want Brother Tan to play a role." Chun Fei's eyes suddenly lit up. "That's great." Lu Chun didn't give Tan Hong a chance to refuse. He pulled Chun Fei to sit down, took out his mobile phone, and handed it to Song Wanlu. "Sister-in-law, take a photo of us. I'll announce the news first." For people, Lu Chun, Chun Fei, Lu Gangsheng, and Tan Hong respectively represented four roles: Ling Huchong, Rening, Xiang Wentian, and Lu Zhengfeng. Four real big shots. This was definitely a very special and very interesting group photo. Chapter 784. Few stars and artists in the world didn't use blogs. Now was the age of the internet. The number of netizens was unprecedented and basically included the corresponding people in the entertainment industry. Therefore, even very unique stars would follow the trend and open a blog. Even if they didn't use it much, it was very good as a publicity platform. Many stars and artists used their blogs to great effect. Not only did they have a special team to manage their blogs, but they also liked to refresh their blogs 10 times a day. They even took a few pictures of their meals and shoes to show the world. In contrast, as the most popular star in the domestic entertainment industry, Lu Chen's frequency of posting on his blog is not high. He doesn't hype, fight, or sell advertisements. In addition to his daily show of affection and dog food, he only interacts with his friends in the circle and posts some interesting photos. As the saying goes, the rarer something is, the greater its value. It was precisely because he didn't post often and had hundreds of millions of fans that his blog posts attracted a lot of attention. This group photo of the 4 people in Tan Hong's house was posted on Lu Chen's personal blog at 8:15 p.m. At 9 p.m., it reached the top of the hot list on the homepage of Waves' blog. The number of reposts and comments both exceeded 1 million, setting a record for Waves' blog. Lu Chun, Chun Fei-er, Lu Gangsheng, and Tan Hong represented different levels and histories of the Chinese music industry. The 4 of them stood at the top of the music industry, and their album sales combined were absolutely amazing. However, the most interesting thing was that the photo of the 4 had nothing to do with pop music, but a movie that hadn't started yet. The name of the movie was The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. Of course, the most excited were the martial arts fans cultivated by The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. It had been 1 or 2 years since The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was first published. During this period, it had been reprinted and republished many times. It had been on the sales list of Xinhua Publishing Company. At present, it had even been translated into many languages and published in many countries in Southeast Asia. It had considerable influence. Of course, the domestic martial arts fans were the most. They had long been looking forward to The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer movie and TV series. Naturally, the reaction to this special photo was the strongest. Lu Gangsheng is playing Xiang Wentian? That's great. Ha! I didn't expect Tan Hong to have a cameo role. Whose house is this? Wow, Chun Fei-er is so beautiful. Don't say anything else. Just hurry up and start shooting. When the time comes, I'll contribute 2 movie tickets. I'll contribute 5, but that was not the end. 2 hours after the photo was posted, Lu Chen posted a new blog post. This blog post was officially leaked. He said that after the new year, he would start a nationwide audition for actors for The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, and make a talent show to select the best talents to participate in the filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. At the same time, he added the basic requirements for participating in the election. This blog post was even more sensational than the previous one, because it provoked the nerves of countless people. I want to sign up. I just want to ask, is it too late to learn martial arts now? Those who have no strength in their limbs express their great regret. The storms of the 8 directions will gather in the capital. Does it mean that the qualifiers will be held in Beijing? I also want to act. Many people had a dream of becoming a star. In most people's eyes, it was easier to be an actor than a singer, and it was easier to be famous to act than to sing. The latter required a good voice or good looks. Therefore, there were many people applying for film academies every year. Every major film and television studios were full of people pursuing their dream of becoming a star. In fact, the road of an actor was more difficult than the road of a singer, and the competition was more intense. But to stand under the spotlight and appear on the big screen was a strong temptation to countless people. It's just that for them. The biggest problem is that there is no way or opportunity. But now Lu Chen's movie actually wants to audition actors. Even if there are all kinds of restrictions and requirements, many people who meet or don't meet the conditions and are interested in this area are all excited. Not to mention ordinary people. Even some second or third-rate artists in the circle half-jokingly or half-seriously expressed their desire to participate in the talent show. These artistes knew Lu Chen's capability too well. All the projects he participated in were extremely profitable. Those who were involved in the projects all benefited a lot. Some even became famous overnight. So even if they would play a small supporting role in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, it was still an extremely good thing. Not to mention that the movie had already booked 4 real big names. It was simply a feast. Of course, Lu Chen sent out these 2 blog posts on purpose, but the influence caused by it actually exceeded his expectations. After a short period of fermentation, it quickly caused a sensation inside and outside the circle and made countless people ready to make a move. To be continued. As a result, the next morning, while Lu Chan was still asleep, he was woken up by the phone ringing next to his pillow. He opened his eyes in a daze and took out his cell phone to see that it was only 7 o'clock. The sky outside was not fully bright yet. The number was a little familiar, but it was not in his contact list. Who was it? Lu Chan was a little puzzled as he pressed the call button. Hello? A deep voice came from the phone. Teacher Lu Chan, I'm really sorry to disturb you. I'm Qin Shi from Beijing television station. Lu Chan originally thought that someone had made a mistake, but he did not expect it to be the deputy director of Beijing television station, Qin Shi. He quickly said, Hello, Director Chun. What's the matter? Lu Chan had a good relationship with Qin Shi, but it was limited to work, so the latter was not on his list of relatives and friends. However, with Qin Shi's connections, it was not strange for him to know his private cell phone number. Of course, normally, Qin Shi would not suddenly call him early in the morning for no reason. In fact, Lu Chan had already guessed it. Sure enough, Qin Shi laughed and said, Is it convenient to have breakfast together? It's my treat. The deputy director of Beijing television personally called to invite him to breakfast. He was definitely giving him a lot of face. However, Lu Chan said with a wry smile, Director Chun, let me treat you to breakfast, but I'm afraid you will be disappointed. What kind of person was Qin Shi? He immediately reacted. You know, you didn't give it to Zhejiang television, did you? Of course not Zhejiang television. Lu Chan said with a smile. It's Central TV. Qin Shi was speechless. If it was Zhejiang television, he could communicate with Lu Chan confidently, but if it was Central TV, he really could not. This breakfast was still treated to by Qin Shi. After breakfast, the people from Central TV contacted Lu Chan, and the impact of the audition for the smiling, proud wanderer had just begun. Chapter 785. Xiangnan, Hingyang. Before the sun rose in the morning, Nanyue Hingshan Neo Martial Arts School's internal broadcast system started on time. Exciting music instantly rang throughout the school, waking up the teachers and students from their dreams. In room 317 of the A3 dormitory, Meng, who rubbed his sleepy eyes, lifted his warm blanket and got up to get dressed. He had to move quickly, or else it would be troublesome if the toilet was occupied by someone else. He would have to run to a public toilet far away, and if he missed his morning exercise, the consequences would be dire. Nanyue Hingshan Neo Martial Arts School was the most famous professional martial arts school in Xiangnan. It had a history of more than 30 years and had nearly 10,000 teachers and students. Although it was a private school, it was larger than many public high schools or technical secondary schools. Unlike ordinary high schools and technical secondary schools, Hingshan Martial Arts School implemented a closed military management. All students lived on campus, not even on Saturdays or Sundays. Their basic necessities, food, lodging, and entertainment were all handled on campus. It was very strict. It was precisely because of its strictness that many parents sent their children who could no longer be controlled to this school for life re-education. Hingshan Martial Arts School's graduates had good prospects. Some joined the army, some entered the police academy or university, some became security guards, some became fitness trainers, and some even became professional athletes. At the very least, they could build a strong physique after 3 years. Meng, who came from the old rural area of Gannan province. His family was poor, and his grades in school were very average. Therefore, he wanted to learn something and work early to reduce the burden on his family. Someone from his village had studied in Hingshan Martial Arts School for 3 years and was now the captain of a security company with a monthly salary of more than 10,000. This villager had a good relationship with Meng Hu's family. He promised Meng Hu that as long as he graduated from Hingshan Martial Arts School, he would recommend him to this company. The starting salary would be at least 3,000. Meng Hu's family was very grateful to this. They took out all their savings to support Meng Hu in Hingshan Martial Arts School. Hingshan Martial Arts School's tuition was quite high, but the entry requirements were very low. As long as one reached the age of enrollment and was healthy, they could basically get in. Meng Hu knew that this opportunity did not come easily. Therefore, he studied very hard in the 2 years he had been in the school. As a result, he improved very quickly. His MMA skills were top-notch among his peers. He had also matured a lot. Originally, Meng Hu thought that his life would be like this. After 3 years, he would graduate from Mount Hung Martial Arts School and enter the security company of his hometown to work. He would first work as a small security guard to accumulate experience and slowly rise to the position of vice captain, and if he was lucky enough, becoming a supervisor or even a manager would not be a dream. Now that he had started earning his salary, he had to help his younger siblings. His younger siblings' academic performance was much better than Meng Hu's, and they would definitely go to university in the future. His family was also in debt because of him. After paying off his debt and supporting his younger brother and sister to go to college, only then could he think about his own life. Perhaps there would be a girl who was not so pretty but kind who would be willing to follow him. The two of them would work hard to save money, get married, have children, and build a house. But now, Meng Hu had a new idea. This thought was so strong that it was like a wildfire burning in his young heart, causing him to be unable to sleep well the whole night. There was always a kind of unwillingness and impulse beating along with his heart. The martial arts school students' morning exercise ended at 7:45 a.m. After the morning exercise, it was a 30-minute break for breakfast. After breakfast, it was time for the morning's cultural class. Tiger. In the cafeteria, Meng Hu had just gotten his meal when a student waved at him and greeted him. Meng Hu's heart instantly tightened. He looked around instinctively, then quickly walked over with his plate. The other person was his best friend in the martial arts school, Li Dongyang. There were a few other people sitting with Li Dongyang, including 2 of Meng Hu's dormitory classmates. They left a seat for Meng Hu. Everyone was very vigilant. It felt like they were meeting up with an underground gang in a movie. Li Dongyang secretly took out his phone from his underwear pocket. He lowered his voice and said, "All of you, keep an eye on it. The results should be out today. I hope all of us can pass." Everyone nodded in unison, trying their best to act as if nothing had happened. However, all of their attention was on Li Dongyang. The martial arts school did not allow the use of mobile phones. If they needed to communicate with the outside world, they could only use landlines. However, there were always some clever students who could think of ways to hide from the school's inspection and surreptitiously use their mobile phones to go online. What Li Dongyang was going to do now was definitely a big deal for them. The student cafeteria and the teacher's cafeteria were separate, so it was relatively safer here. At least, they would not encounter any sudden inspections. However, the 30-minute breakfast time was very limited, so Li Dongyang had to speed up. His fingers were flying as he tapped on the screen and opened a registered email. "There's a result." After a while, Li Dongyang said softly. His eyes revealed a look of excitement. The student sitting next to him almost dropped the chopsticks in his hand. Meng Hu could not help but swallow his saliva. It was supposed to be a very short time, but it felt like an eternity. Li Dongyang said in a hoarse voice, "Century Egg, King passed." Century Egg sat opposite Meng Hu. When he heard this, he jumped up immediately. Fortunately, Meng Hu was quick enough to hold him back. Otherwise, this brat would have jumped straight to the sky. Even so, it still attracted a lot of curious gazes. Li Dongyang immediately put away his phone vigilantly. He picked up his steamed bun and gnawed on it. He looked at Century Egg fiercely. Century Egg chuckled and scratched his head embarrassedly. When he felt that no one was paying attention to him, Li Dongyang took out his phone again and continued checking. "Third bro, King passed too. Little Lin, you didn't pass. Chenzi, congratulations." Meng Hu listened to the familiar nicknames. He was extremely nervous, and his face was flushed. "Tiger, you passed too." His clenched fists suddenly loosened, and then he clenched them again. Although he had some confidence, when he heard the news that he passed, it still made this 18-year-old boy extremely excited. "I passed. I'm going to the capital." Meng Hu passed the online audition of the big movie actor talent show, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, with a theme of wind and rain gathering in the capital. Among the 7 people sitting with Li Dongyang, 5 of them actually passed the online audition. This meant that they were qualified to go to the capital to participate in the live audition of the show. It was possible for them to become an actor in the smiling, proud wanderer. Chapter 786. The news of the audition for the smiling, the proud wanderer was first announced by Lu Chun on his personal blog, and then confirmed by the official blog of Chunfei Media. They also announced the audition criteria and rules. Any adult between the ages of 18 to 35, regardless of gender, as long as they were healthy and had a basic foundation, such as learning traditional martial arts, sanda, taekwondo, judo, kickboxing, and so on, could sign up for the competition. The initial audition used the online registration method. Applicants needed to fill in their basic personal information and attach a short video that could prove that they had learned martial arts. The deadline for the audition was January 25th, and the results of the audition would be announced on January 28th. All the people who passed the audition had to come to the capital on February 25th to participate in the program, recording that would officially start on March 1st. A group of outstanding people would be selected to participate in the filming of the smiling, the proud wanderer. Chunfei Media further revealed that the talent show, Wind and Rain Gathering in the capital, had been confirmed to cooperate with the Central Television Variety Channel, so the contestants would definitely be able to appear on the stage of the Central Television Variety Channel. In addition, Chunfei Media would also be responsible for the travel expenses of all the contestants, as well as their accommodation during the recording of the program. They would also be given different rewards according to the ranking and even have the opportunity to sign with Chunfei Media. Once the news was announced, it immediately caused a great sensation. The smiling, the proud wanderer, the Central Television Variety Channel, Chunfei Media, Lu Chun. Any one of these keywords was enough to attract people's attention. Now that they were all gathered together, it was hard for people to move their eyes away. When Menghu got the news, it was only a few days before the online audition registration deadline. The main reason was that the management of the martial arts school was too strict, so they could only watch the TV news for half an hour at night. However, the martial arts school was not a military-restricted area, so it could not be completely isolated from the world. Therefore, the news still spread and was known by many students. It was already surging. Last year, in the library of Hung Yang Martial Arts School, the most borrowed book was The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. Because of the special theme of this martial arts novel, it was included in the list of books by the school. As a result, it became the most popular reading material among the students. Many students were fascinated by it. Because of the shortage of books, there were a lot of copies of the novel, which were circulated among the students. Therefore, in Hingyang Martial Arts School, the original work of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer had a great influence. The students were all hot-blooded teenagers, and they were easily influenced by the martial arts in the book. However, the world in the book was ultimately illusory and unreal. Just like the popular online novels nowadays, people mainly used it to relieve their worries and worries. But now, a chance suddenly appeared in front of them, saying that they could become actors in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. It was very tempting to them. Menghu had also watched The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. He did not have any dream of becoming a star, but when such an opportunity was placed in front of him, the desire in his heart spread like wild weeds. Now, he actually passed the online selection. Menghu was not the only one who passed the online selection. There were 4 other people who were equally lucky. Those who failed were naturally disappointed and sad, but the winners could not suppress the excitement in their hearts. Tiger, Li Dongyang happily said, "Let's go to the capital together after the new year." He and Meng, who were both from Gan province, and their hometowns were only about 100 kilometers away from each other. They were really old cousins, so they became good friends in the martial arts school. He also passed the online selection. The selection criteria of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was actually very advantageous for martial arts school students like them, because they met all the requirements and could easily crush ordinary people in many aspects. That was why they passed so many rounds. Of course, the online selection was relatively easy. If they went to the capital to participate in the audition, there would definitely be a large number of people rejected. The talent show would definitely select the best of the best. But for these 18 and 19-year-old teenagers, there was no such thing as failure in their minds. Even if they knew the chances were slim, it was totally worth it to go to the capital for free. Unexpectedly, Meng Hu shook his head and said, "No, I plan to go to the capital the day after tomorrow, when the winter break begins." Everyone was shocked. Li Dongyang could not help but open his eyes wide. The official audition will only start on the 1st of March. Where are you going to stay now? Aren't you going home for the new year? He suspected that Meng Hu was so excited that he was talking nonsense. In fact, at this moment, Meng Hu was very calm. He said, "I've thought about it. It's best to buy a high-speed train ticket to the capital now. It will be very difficult to buy a ticket after the new year. If there is any delay, the spring festival had already begun. As the major colleges and universities began their winter break, the domestic traffic would inevitably usher in a new wave of peak. For example, in the capital, at least 10 million people would leave the capital every year to go home for the new year. The high-speed train tickets to all parts of the country were extremely popular. But to the capital, it was completely the opposite. But this was not the most important reason for Meng Hu to give up going home to the capital. I heard that temporary jobs in the capital are very popular during the new year, and the pay is very high. If I go there as a part-time waiter or delivery boy, I can at least earn a few thousand a month, and I can also send it back to support my family. Isn't it 10 times better than going home?" Li Dongyang and the others could not help but look at each other. No one had expected Meng Hu to be so thoughtful and mature. And Meng Hu lowered his voice and said, "Don't we have to pass 7 stages in the official audition? I want to go and find out what exactly these 7 stages are so that I can be prepared in advance." This time, everyone was shocked. Li Dongyang's expression changed for a moment. He gritted his teeth and said, "Tiger, then I'll go to the capital with you for the new year." Meng Hu was stunned. "Then how are you going to tell your family?" Li Dongyang was the only son in his family. His family was much better off than Meng Hu's, so he did not need to work to support his family. "If I find out anything over there, I'll definitely tell you immediately." Li Dongyang smiled and patted his shoulder. "I've already decided. I'll go out and try my luck." The other youths looked at each other and made up their minds. 2 days later, Hingyang Martial Arts School started its winter break. Meng Hu, Li Dongyang, and a few other students returned their original train tickets and bought new high-speed train tickets to the capital. They traveled together, inadvertently becoming an extremely small countercurrent in this year's spring festival. But they were not unique. There were many more people with the same dream, converging on the capital from different directions, forming a new countercurrent. Chapter 787. Beijing, Mesa Shopping Mall. This large shopping mall, located in the bustling area of Beijing's Second Ring Road, had just opened for business before the arrival of the new year. It had 7 floors, more than 30,000 square meters of operating area, and gathered a large number of international and domestic famous brands. Naturally, it had become the new benchmark in Beijing's business circle. As the Spring Festival approached, countless people who worked or studied in Beijing had left the metropolis. The originally bustling streets had become much emptier. The usual traffic jams from the Second Ring Road to the Fifth Ring Road had quietly disappeared. Even the capital sky had become a lot bluer. But not all places became deserted. The newly opened Mesa Shopping Mall ushered in the peak before the Spring Festival. A large number of customers poured into it, buying the new era of New Year goods with extravagant spending. Clothes, leather bags, perfume, cosmetics, gold and silver jewelry, imported food, as if it didn't cost money. Even Fang Yun, who came here for the first time, was infected by the almost fanatical shopping atmosphere in the mall. She couldn't help but be extravagant, buying 2 sets of expensive designer clothes and a handbag. A few years ago, she was not willing to spend money on new clothes at all, because the new year was the most difficult time. She owed so many debts, and the word New Year was attached to too heavy a meaning. Since Liu Chan became famous, everything should have changed. The Liu family, who had lost their pillar of support, not only returned to their old life, but also became better than before. The platinum card and the Gucci handbag that Fang Yun had just bought contained 5 million yuan that Lu Chun had deposited. However, her son's filial piety was not the reason why she was happy. What she was really happy about was that at this moment, there were 2 daughters and a future daughter-in-law accompanying her. 2 days ago, Fang Yun came to Beijing with Lu Shui, who had just started her winter vacation. Because this year's spring festival, Lu Chun and Chen Fei both had to participate in the CCTV Spring Festival Gala. They would not be able to go home for the new year, so Fang Yun came by herself. In addition to the reason for the family reunion, there was also the reason that the new year in their hometown in Binhai could not be quiet. Lu Chun's reputation was getting bigger and bigger, and there were always a lot of messy people who came to visit during the new year. Some of them wanted to claim connections with relatives, some wanted to borrow money, some wanted to become singers and actresses, and some wanted to introduce jobs for their children. Back when the Lus were at their peak, Fang Yun didn't even know that she had so many relatives and old friends. It really annoyed her so much that she came to the capital to hide in peace. Fang Yun and Lu Shui arrived in the capital. Lu Shi took time out of her busy schedule to accompany her mother. Of course, Chen Fei, who didn't want to lose face. She turned down several events and specially brought her future mother-in-law to the mall for shopping. "Auntie, are you tired?" Chen Fei held Fang Yun's arm and said with concern, "Let's go to the tea room on the 5th floor to rest." Fang Yun nodded with a smile and said, "Okay, I'll listen to your arrangement." She couldn't be more satisfied with this future daughter-in-law. The only thing she cared about now was when she and Lu Chun would get married and have children. At that time, she could retire with a peace of mind and take care of her grandchildren. Chen Fei said with a smile, "Then let's go up." As she spoke, she suddenly felt something strange. She couldn't help but turn her head to look to the right. In the crowd not far away, a man in a black jacket was holding an SLR camera and taking pictures of her. Seeing Chen Fei's gaze, the man desperately pressed the shutter and took more than a dozen photos in a row. Then he quickly turned around and disappeared. Chen Fei shook her head helplessly. These paparazzi were really everywhere. Today, because she was going to accompany Fang Yun to go shopping, she didn't disguise herself. As a result, she was followed and photographed. Fang Yun didn't understand. Seeing that Chen Fei's expression was a little strange, she quickly asked, "What's wrong?" Chen Fei immediately smiled and said, "Nothing. Let's go." She wouldn't let such a small thing disturb the mood of herself and her future mother-in-law. 2 hours later, Waves Blog's well-known self-media blogger, Entertainment Gossip, released more than a dozen secretly taken photos with the title "Chen Fei appears at Mesa Plaza to accompany future mother-in-law shopping." Among them, the most eye-catching was the photo of Chen Fei holding Fang Yun's arm and smiling. It immediately caused a lot of response on the blog. Many bloggers have reposted it, attracting a large number of comments from fans. "What a warm picture. Is this Lu Chen's mother? She looks so young. My Chen's mother must have been a great beauty when she was young. My Chen is so handsome. Sure enough, it's in her genes. Hey, who's that little beauty next to her? That's my Chen's sister. I've seen Lu Chen's family photos. Do you think my Chen and my Fei's wedding is near?" Haha, it's very likely. As everyone talked, they soon went astray. Many people believe that Lu Chun and Chen Fei had entered the stage of talking about marriage. Lu Chen's mother must have come to Beijing to prepare for the wedding. There were also people who said with certainty that Lu Chun and Chen Fei had already got a marriage certificate, but it was hidden from everyone. Therefore, Fang Yun was not a future mother-in-law at all. She was a real mother-in-law. What was even more outrageous was that someone revealed on the blog that Chen Fei was pregnant and would get married after the new year. She appeared at Mesa Plaza with her mother-in-law's family to buy baby supplies. Logically speaking, this kind of completely groundless rumor should not be believed by many people. However, things in the world were just that strange. Many people really believed it and ran to Lu Chun and Chen Fei's blogs to congratulate them. Then, more and more people believed it to be true. In the afternoon, the keyword Chun Fei is pregnant actually appeared on the hot search list on the homepage of Waves. When Lu Chun answered the phone in the swimming complex and heard the congratulatory call, he was completely confused. He wondered if the other party was playing an April Fool's joke on him. Who did you hear it from? Lin Jijia's hearty laughter came from the phone. Don't you know? It's going crazy on the internet. Everyone is saying that you and Fei are getting married because of the baby. Your mother is accompanying her to buy baby supplies at Mesa Plaza. Lu Chen's face turned into a big, awkward character. I'm going to faint. Lin Jijia laughed and said, I think it's impossible. The movie you two are starring in is about to start filming. How could you get pregnant at this time? Unless, cough, cough. But everyone is very concerned about the two of you, haha. After ending the call with Lin Jijia, Lu Chun shook his head speechlessly and quickly called Chun Fei. Chun Fei already knew about it. Lu Shi was arranging the public relations department to refute the rumor. Lu Chun was relieved and returned his attention to the swimming complex. There was a very important test going on here. Chapter 788. The swimming pool was built in the 1990s. At that time, it was the largest and most well-equipped swimming pool in the capital, and it had many water entertainment facilities. Therefore, it became a place of childhood memories for many people in the capital. But now, the swimming pool was undoubtedly outdated. Last year, the state allocated funds to renovate it. The swimming pool and various facilities in the main pool were renovated and upgraded. Finally, it kept up with the trend. Since 5 days ago, the main swimming pool had been closed to the public. A large number of equipment had been moved into the swimming pool, and a mobile castle had been built on the thermostatic swimming pool. This would become the recording site for the audition of the smiling, proud martial world. All the contestants would challenge 7 difficulties in the swimming pool, and then the best would be selected to enter the knockout stage. Today, Lu Chun came to the site to inspect the progress of the project. Because the creative ideas of this talent show were all provided by Lu Chun, and the rules were also made by him. In order to ensure the effect of the show, even the sketches of the equipment were drawn by him. First of all, 500 qualified contestants would be selected from the online applicants, and then they would come to the capital for the water challenge. The challenges included flying across the pontoon bridge, thrilling at every step, brave against the current, overturning rivers and seas, jumping over the Dragon Gate, taking a sharp turn down, and climbing the peak. Each challenge was more difficult than the previous one. After 2 days of installation and debugging, the equipment for the first 4 challenges were basically in place. Because the equipment for the last 3 challenges were relatively complicated, the manufacturers were still working overtime to make them. It would take at least another week. In fact, this was already very difficult. This was because the water challenge was an original design, and there were no precedents to follow. All the equipment was specially ordered from the largest amusement equipment manufacturer in Beijing. Since it happened to be during the Chinese New Year, they had to pay a high price to ensure the progress. Moreover, the installation and debugging were not smooth. If there were any problems, they had to be solved on the spot. They even had to reassemble or make accessories. Therefore, Lu Chun had to spend a lot of energy on it. Therefore, he had no time to pay attention to the boring rumors on the internet. When one reached the level of Lu Chun and Chun Fei, their every move might fall into the eyes of others. Paparazzi would follow them and secretly take pictures of their daily trips, adding to the entertainment news. Unless it was malicious slander that affected the company's reputation, the company's public relations department would handle it appropriately. They would make statements and refute rumors as needed. It would not affect their work. Lu Laosher, a middle-aged man in a suit and leather shoes, jogged over. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and asked carefully, "All the equipment has been tested. There are no more problems. Are we going to conduct a real person test now?" "All right." Lu Chun smiled and said, "Manager Zhang, thank you for your hard work." This middle-aged man was the manager sent by the equipment provider to supervise the construction. He had a lot of experience in the industry and had supervised the installation of many land and water entertainment facilities. However, the equipment set up on the swimming pool today was brand new. For manager Zhang, it was a difficult challenge. Under normal circumstances, not many companies would accept orders before the new year and rush the work before the new year and install the equipment during the new year. However, the two brands of Luchun and Central TV were too loud, so the equipment providers could not refuse this cooperation at all. They did their best to ensure the smooth completion of the contract. Manager Zhang was a little flattered and quickly said, "It's not hard, it's not hard." He had not come into contact with any celebrity artists. To him, Luchun was undoubtedly a high and unattainable figure. He could only see him on TV and the internet, so he could not help but feel anxious. If he offended Luchun and made Luchun unhappy, the company's boss would probably skin him alive. When he came over this morning, the boss had pulled his ear and warned him repeatedly. He didn't expect Luchun to be so approachable, without any airs of a big star, which made him feel relieved. Manager Zhang was still thinking whether it was appropriate to ask Luchun for an autograph later. His daughter was a fan of Luchun. Knowing that her father had a working relationship with Luchun, she was so excited as if she had won a 5 million prize. Luchun didn't know the entanglement in his heart at this moment and nodded to Wang Yong, who had been following him. Wang Yong was originally the coach of the Borui Club. Later, he and a group of people from the Borui Club were taken over by Luchun from Limushi and formed the Lu Family Squad, which was now quite famous in Hong Kong. The Lu Family Squad participated in the filming of the movie, a Chinese ghost story, and the TV series You from the Star, and became an important force under Chenfei Media. However, for Lu Chen's full-scale martial arts IP plan, the current number of Lu Family Squad members was far from enough. That's why there was the 8 Storms meet in the capital. Lu Chen wanted to use this talent show to select excellent talents to expand the Lu Family Squad so that he could show off his skills. The idea of the water challenge came from a memory of the dream world. It combined the characteristics of domestic and foreign programs in the dream world. Although the facilities could not be perfect due to time constraints, it was no problem as a tool to measure the ability of the contestants. The 7 levels had corresponding requirements for the contestants' physical fitness and responsiveness. It was easy for ordinary people to pass 1 or 2 levels, but it was not easy to pass 3 or 4 levels. The later levels were even more difficult. If they could break through all the levels, they would definitely be excellent talents worthy of training. After receiving Lu Chen's instructions, Wang Yong immediately called out, "Li Xiaowang, you go up and try first." "Okay." A young man standing on the edge of the pool answered and quickly ran to the starting platform to move his hands and feet to warm up. He was also a member of the Lu Family Squad and came to the swimming pool as a tester today. Beep, as the whistle sounded, all the equipment that had been set up and installed was activated at the same time. The movable parts, including soft leather, moved up and down or began to rotate under the drive of the safety and waterproof motor, and a stream of water sprayed out. After warming up, Li Xiaowang took a step and jumped onto the air cushion floating on the water. He strode along the pontoon bridge composed of short and narrow air cushions, and in the blink of an eye, he broke through the first level. His neat performance won bursts of applause from the onlookers at the scene. Chapter 789. Lu Chen's team was created by Lu Chen. At present, there are more than 20 official members, all of whom were signed to Chenfei Media. It could be called Lu Chen's important team. Although the number was small, Lu Chen's investment in this team was not low at all. The salary of the Lu family team members was higher than that of ordinary white-collar workers in Beijing, and they received a lot of subsidies during the filming period. Moreover, Lu Chen often trained with the Lu family team. The team's cohesion was very high, and their work performance was excellent. Li Xiaowang was the youngest member of the Lu family team. He had just retired from the army last year, but his skills were very good. He also played a small supporting role in You from the Star and was highly regarded by Wang Yong. Therefore, for this test challenge, Wang Yong sent him first, and Li Xiaowang did not disappoint Wang Yong's expectations. He cleanly passed 2 levels in less than 30 seconds. According to the rules of the challenge, the time to pass was limited, and it was a bonus. Naturally, the faster, the better. Li Xiaowang's results were undoubtedly very good. However, the difficulty of the third stage, torrential rush, suddenly increased, and Li Xiaowang was a little impatient. There were several times when he was almost washed into the pool by the jet of water. He completely relied on his extraordinary skills to adjust himself. The thrilling scene caused the onlookers to exclaim and gasp in surprise. At the scene of the swimming pool, in addition to the factory personnel who installed the equipment, there were many staff members of the swimming pool. Most of them were here to watch the fun or to see the stars. Of course, the latter was more common. But now everyone's attention was focused on Li Xiaowang to see if he could pass the 4th level. Under everyone's gaze, Li Xiaowang learned the previous lesson and did not dare to underestimate in advance. He steadily passed through the more difficult overturning rivers and seas, and finally jumped onto the floating valve. It took a total of 5 minutes and 27 seconds to pass the 4 levels. After successfully passing the level, he excitedly waved his fist, which attracted bursts of applause from the audience. Manager Zhang smiled and said to Lu Chun, "This young man is really good. If I were to go up, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to pass the 1st level." Lu Chun nodded thoughtfully. "Well, let's try someone else. Since it was a test, the test sample should be more comprehensive." Li Xiaowang was an elite member of the Lu family team. His performance could only be used as a basis for equipment debugging. According to his requirements, the difficulty of the challenge could be adjusted. If ordinary people could pass the 4th level, then it should be a little more difficult. After all, there were many people participating in the official audition. As soon as Chun made the request, someone volunteered, and it was the swimming pool staff. The swimming pool originally had water entertainment programs, but the creative form of the Grand Challenge was undoubtedly very new to them, and it looked very fun, so there were many people who were eager to give it a try. Of course, Lu Chen agreed. The equipment was able to be installed so quickly. In addition to the strength of the custom-made manufacturer, it was also indispensable to the strong support of the natatorium. Not only needed the swimming pool, but also needed to help. During the swimming pool, the Chun had also needed the swimming pool. But he also needed to help. The swimming pool had needed. Zhang Zhou Chen's SS the swimming pool. In addition, Lu Chun could also see the swimming pool's intention. But it was not a big deal. If the swimming pool needed it, all the equipment could be sold to them after the program was recorded. It was a win-win situation. With Lu Chen's approval, the natatorium immediately sent 2 staff members, a man and a woman, to change into swimsuits and go into battle. Moreover, they were carefully selected handsome men and beautiful women. This is not surprising. In addition to Lu Chun being present for the equipment debugging, the CCTV variety channel has also sent personnel to track and shoot materials on the scene. The natatorium naturally has to take the opportunity to show its face and promote the swimming pool. For them, this cooperation with Chunfei Media and CCTV Variety Channel was like a big pie falling from the sky, and they really valued it. As a result, 2 temporary contestants, one fell in the 2nd level, and the other was washed into the pool by the torrent of the 3rd level. Neither of them could pass all the levels. That's about it. Lu Chun was very satisfied and said to Manager Zhang, "The difficulty doesn't need to be adjusted, but the equipment must be maintained in place to ensure stable operation during the program recording. And the equipment for the next 3 levels must be made as soon as possible." "Don't worry," as the representative of the equipment manufacturer, Manager Zhang said with a smile, "there is no problem with the quality. Our drive and control motors are imported, and we can guarantee that there will be no delay." Although this business came suddenly, and their company had spent a lot of effort and paid a lot of price, they could also get rich profits, and there were long-term benefits. Once the program was successful, there would be more orders flying in. Would this program be successful? That's 100% certain, because there's Lu Chen's resounding signboard. He smiled and said, "Teacher Lu, don't you want to try it yourself? Give me more valuable experience." This manager Zhang was actually just casually saying that. Most of it was just a joke, but Lu Chen's heart really moved after hearing it. He nodded and said, "That's fine too." Manager Zhang didn't expect that a suggestion would be accepted by Lu Chen. He was stunned for a moment, and then he was overjoyed. If Lu Chen went in person, the publicity effect would be great. Lu Chen was a man who did what he said. He asked his assistant to find a pair of shorts for him first, and then he went to the changing room to change. It was freezing outside, but the indoor swimming pool was air-conditioned, and there was a thermostatic swimming pool, so Lu Chen simply took off his shirt and went in directly bare-chested. As a result, as soon as he appeared, he immediately attracted everyone's attention, especially a few young girls present. They were even looking at him with stars in their eyes. If it weren't for the rules of the on-site work, I'm afraid that they would immediately take out their mobile phones to secretly take pictures. Lu Chen was a star artist with both strength and idol. He was tall, handsome, and had a sunny and healthy appearance, but he rarely showed his body like today. He was not a muscular man, but he had a well-proportioned body, a wide back, a narrow waist, and smooth abdominal muscles. He gave people the feeling that he contained infinite power. In terms of temperament, he completely crushed the little fresh meats that filled the entertainment circle. The two cameras arranged on the scene were aimed at Lu Chen at the same time. Lu Chen stood at the starting point, warmed up his hands and feet for 2 minutes, and then, under everyone's gaze, rushed to the first pontoon bridge. His speed was as fast as a hunting leopard, extremely fast and vigorous. The swimming pool was silent, and the camera's lens firmly followed the figure of Lu Chen's fast running, faithfully recording all his movements on the hard disk. Chapter 790. Beijing, Changshi Road, Shoe Flavor Hot Pot Restaurant. Food was the most important thing to the people. Most Chinese people were foodies, so the domestic food industry was particularly developed. It was unparalleled in the world. As long as there was a restaurant with a little specialty, whether it was a big restaurant or a small restaurant, there would always be a lot of customers. In recent years, the most special hot pot in Shancheng had become popular all over the country. Many hot pot restaurants with Sichuan characteristics had opened in the capital, and their business was also booming. Although Sichuan hot pot was very different from the beef and mutton hot pot that northerners often ate, people from all over the country gathered in the capital, plus tens of millions of tourists every year, so there was no lack of customers. Moreover, spicy hot pot was poisonous. Once you liked it, you would be poisoned and want to eat it every few days. The Shoe Flavor hot pot restaurant chain had been in the capital for only half a year, and it had already opened 3 branches. There were so many customers that there was basically no free time, especially since the beginning of winter. If customers arrived late, there would be no seats at all, and they could only wait in the lounge outside. Today was the Lunar New Year. The temperature in the capital had dropped sharply a few days ago, and it had snowed several times in a row. It was so cold that even a drop of water would turn into ice. At this time, it was really a good time to call 3 to 5 friends to sit in front of the hot pot and eat spicy hot pot. Although it was already past 8 o'clock in the evening, the Shoe Flavor hot pot restaurant chain on Changshi Road was still booming. The hall was full, and there were even people waiting in the lounge to get a number. They were ready to eat dinner and supper together. In the hall that was filled with the strong smell of hot pot, Meng Hu carried a hot kettle in one hand and a tray full of dishes in the other. He quickly and flexibly passed between the tables and delivered the food to the waiting customers. After delivering the orders, he could finally sit in the staff room to take a breather and fill his already rumbling stomach. The normal staff meal was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but Meng Hu was able to work and eat, so an extra meal was necessary. Although the extra meal in the evening was very simple, a big bowl of rice and mixed meat soup, Meng Hu was already very satisfied. Because the food and accommodation in the hot pot restaurant were free, he could basically save the money he earned. Meng Hu and a few of his classmates had been in Beijing for almost 2 weeks. Their luck was pretty good. Due to a large number of migrant workers leaving Beijing to celebrate the new year, various service industries were in urgent need of temporary workers, so they quickly found a job. including Meng Hu. There were 5 students from Hingyang Martial Arts School. Some were waiters, some were couriers, and some were delivery boys. Even though they were temporary workers, their wages were not low. This was especially the case for delivery. The more deliveries, the more money they would earn. The salary would be doubled during the Chinese New Year. It was very tempting, but Meng Hu considered that he was completely unfamiliar with Beijing and did not have a good sense of direction, so he chose to be a waiter. This job wasn't bad, not to mention that food and lodging were provided. He could earn at least 200 yuan a day with double hourly pay. He could live in Beijing for a month and still have 5,000 to 6,000 yuan to send back home. He was already very satisfied. Tiger. Meng Hu had just finished the last mouthful of meat soup mixed with rice in his bowl when the door to the staff room was pushed open. Li Dongyang jumped in with a sneaky smile on his face. I knew you were hiding here to eat alone. Meng Hu couldn't help but roll his eyes. What? Li Dongyang also worked at the Shu Flavor Hot Pot restaurant. According to him, brothers must be together so that they could take care of each other. However, he chose to help in the kitchen, saying that he wanted to secretly learn some skills. Maybe he could open his own hot pot restaurant in the future. In terms of quick-wittedness, Meng Hu was definitely not as smart as Li Dongyang. Li Dongyang presented his phone as if he was presenting a treasure. Let me show you something good. Meng Hu's eyelids suddenly twitched. He instinctively looked around, then lowered his voice and said, You're crazy. You're watching this during working hours. Aren't you afraid of being caught and fired? The Shu Flavor Hot Pot restaurant had good treatment, but the rules were very strict. Even temporary workers were no exception. Li Dongyang snickered and said, What are you thinking? Do you think I'm going to show you a porn video? If you want to see it, then I'll download it for you when I go back to the dormitory tonight. Seeing that Meng Hu's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, he chuckled and said, I'm not joking. You'll know when you see it. Meng Hu was very distrustful of Li Dongyang's character, but he still took the phone suspiciously. As a result, he really wronged his good friend this time. What Li Dongyang showed him was not an indescribable love action film, but a video in the latest blog of Chunfei Media. Meng Hu gave up going home for the new year and came to the capital. The main purpose was not to work and make money, but to participate in the talent show The 8 Storms Meet in the capital that would be held after the new year, so he was very sensitive to this news. He and Li Dongyang both registered the account of Wave Blog and followed Lu Chun, Chunfei Media, and even the blogs of Central Television. At the same time, they saved several related forums so that they could get first-hand information. Recently, for the actor talent show of the movie The Smiling Proud Wanderer, the official blog of Chunfei Media frequently released news to maintain attention, but there was not much useful content. But the video that was released tonight was absolutely the real thing. It was impressively the test process of the audition, and Lu Chun personally went to the test. It was completely leaked by the official. It was really useful. Meng Hu's attention was immediately attracted. He stared at the screen without blinking, for fear of missing the details of every frame. Although he got the qualification to participate in the official audition, Meng Hu still knew nothing about the show. He only knew that he had to pass 7 stages, but he was completely unclear about what the 7 stages were. Now that the official video was released, if he did not take the opportunity to study it carefully, it would be equivalent to giving up the opportunity. After watching the 17-minute video, Meng Hu was lost in thought. Li Dongyang was a little uneasy and asked, Tiger, how do you feel? Can we do it? Of course we can. Meng Hu clenched his fist and said, I can definitely pass these 4 stages. But, he whispered again, I'm afraid I can't be as fast as Lu Chen. The 19-year-old boy was a little depressed because in the video, Lu Chen's skills and reflexes were amazing. He was not a layman, and he deeply understood the meaning of it. Li Dongyang laughed, patted him on the shoulder, and said, Who asked you to compare with Lu Chen? Is he someone we can compare with? We just need to be faster and better than other contestants. Meng Hu nodded, but in this young man's heart, he regarded Lu Chen as his goal to chase after. He wanted to be as fast and strong as Lu Chen. Chapter 791. The video released by Chunfei Media on the eve of the Lunar New Year's Eve caused a heated response on the internet as expected. People like Meng Hu and Li Dongyang, who had already qualified for the audition, were naturally the most concerned about the content of the information revealed in the video. Although they could only see the settings of the first 4 stages, they were now more confident than before when they were completely in the dark. Knowing the rules of the competition, seeing the operation of the equipment, coupled with the demonstrations of many people in the video, as long as they were not stupid, they could figure out a set of experience that suited them. However, Meng Hu and Li Dongyang were only a small group of people who entered the audition. Most of the netizens and fans were completely focused on different things. Wow, is this the New Year's benefit? TSK, TSK, TSK. Lu Chen's body is really unparalleled. It beats a bunch of little fresh meats in seconds. Don't compare little fresh meats to my Chun. It's an insult. Haha, this game is quite fun. I want to try it too. Where is this? Isn't it cold? My Chun is so handsome. Sigh. He could have made a living with his strength, but he chose to show off his body. He's crazy. I love it. Countless fans, especially female fans, reposted the video. They covered their faces and screamed with all kinds of love emojis. They love him to death. Speaking of which, Lu Chun had announced his relationship with Chun Fei a long time ago. Their relationship had always been sweet and stable, and they were regarded as the best couple in the entertainment industry. However, Lu Chen's fans, especially female fans, were also growing. This was actually not logical. When Lu Chun first debuted, he was regarded as more of an idol star. When an idol male star had a girlfriend, it would naturally disillusion many female fans, and they would often lose a lot of fans. Therefore, many artists did not easily disclose their relationships, or simply remained single. However, looking back at Lu Chen's road to fame over the past 3 years, it was normal for such a situation to occur. He did not rely on his looks, but his strength and talent to attract fans. In recent years, Lu Chun had continuously produced good works. The trilogy of urban romance had earned him a lot of popularity. Although he lost some fans when his relationship was first disclosed, the increase later on was too crazy. In fact, after many female fans had stopped being his fans, they would join him again and become true hardcore fans. They were undoubtedly Lu Chen's staunchest supporters. After accepting Lu Chen's relationship, their admiration for him increased. In their eyes, the video released by Chunfei Media could be called welfare. There were all kinds of praises, laughter, and ridicule, which made the blog lively. When ordinary passersby saw this, they could only sigh deeply at Lu Chen's popularity. Just by showing off his figure, he was able to climb to the top of the trending list. It was an embarrassment to those in the industry who had spent so much effort to buy fans and popularity to gain their position. In contrast, the male fans were much more rational. Except for a few guys with special sexual orientations, no one pointed at Lu Chen's muscles. Everyone was once again shocked by Lu Chen's extraordinary skills. At the beginning of the video was Li Xiaowang's test. In everyone's eyes, his performance was already extremely outstanding. Not only did he successfully pass 4 stages, but he also responded with ease and speed. It was almost impeccable. However, compared to Lu Chun, he was more than a level behind. Lu Chun was stronger and faster than him. According to the time of the scene, Li Xiaowang took 5 minutes and 27 seconds to pass the 4 stages, while Lu Chun took 2 minutes and 22 seconds, less than half. In addition to the contestants who were going to participate in the audition, netizens and fans, many television stations and people in the leisure and entertainment industry also had a strong interest in this video. What they were concerned about was naturally this very interesting challenge plan. It could totally be imported as a separate program or entertainment project to be produced. The most important thing was that once it was on CCTV, it would definitely become popular all over the country. Even if they registered the copyright and paid a high price to buy the authorization, it would still be a profitable business. So, many people rushed to contact Chunfei Media, wanted to follow and get some benefits. Even a few people with connections directly found Lu Chun in a roundabout way. However, Lu Chun was no longer in Beijing. The day after he completed the first test of the equipment in the swimming complex, he flew to Hangzhou with Chun Fei, and will spend Valentine's Day in Hangzhou. Of course, the two didn't go to Hangzhou specifically to spend Valentine's Day, but Happy Entertainment's new game was about to be released. Happy Digital Interactive Entertainment Company, Limited, or Happy Entertainment for short, mainly operates online games and mobile games-related projects and businesses. It was a game company opened by Lu Chun and Gao He. Lu Chun invested tens of millions of yuan in Happy Entertainment and owned 90% of the shares. The first project produced by Happy Entertainment, Happy Farm, was a great success, creating a craze for stealing vegetables. In the end, the game was sold to QQ Games together with Happy Network at a high price of 575 million yuan. Although the craze for Happy Farm has subsided a lot, Happy Entertainment, the newborn calf, has also made a big name in the industry. Lu Chun's initial investment has returned dozens of times, and he continued to increase his investment, intending to make Happy Entertainment an important part of his wuxia IP plan. At present, the online game/mobile version of Happy Entertainment's flagship, The Smiling, Proud World, is being produced, and at the same time, the production and internal testing of the new mobile game, Plants vs. Zombies, has been completed. The idea of this mobile game was naturally provided by Lu Chun from the memory of the dream world. In fact, after selling Happy Farm, Lu Chun gave Gao He a total of 5 mobile game ideas and project ideas. In addition to Plants vs. Zombies, Happy Entertainment also launched Fruit Ninja at the end of last year. Although it was not as successful as Happy Farm, it also caused a new mobile game craze. For the current mobile game industry, technology has never been difficult. Creativity is the most important, and Lu Chun's continuous creative ideas ensure that Happy Entertainment can stand at the top of the industry. When Lu Chun saw Gao He again, it was at the new headquarters of Happy Entertainment. After the sale of Happy Farm, Lu Chun directly bought an office building in the new Binjiang IT Industrial Park in Hangzhou as the company's new headquarters. It's just that he gave full control of Happy Entertainment to Gao He and his wife, and he was busy with his own business. Today is the first time he came to the company's new headquarters. It's also a shame to say that as the actual owner of Happy Entertainment, Lu Chun usually pays little attention to the company, and at most, he only talks to Gao He on the phone. Gao He also has complaints, so this time when the new game Plants vs. Zombies was released, he brought Chunfer along to do his duty. Chapter 792. They haven't seen each other for more than half a year. Gao He's dress and temperament have changed significantly. If he used to be a technical otaku, then now he has the style of an industry elite and is much more confident. This is actually normal. After all, he is in charge of a game company with a total investment of hundreds of millions of yuan, more than 100 employees, and a well-known game company in the industry. But what hasn't changed is the friendship between him and Lu Chun. Old San, you should come to the company more often when you have time. In the VIP room of the company's new office building, Gao He joked, let's not talk about anything else. Let the employees see our big star chairman, and their morale will increase by 200%. Lu Chun smiled and said, aren't I here now? I bought a house in Hangzhou, and I will definitely come back often in the future. Gao He didn't believe it. You try to fool me. How many phone calls did I make this time to invite you over? Don't forget, Happy Entertainment is yours. Lu Chun was ashamed. The company's affairs all depend on you. I really can't handle it, so I can only rely on you. Gao He smiled and said, you can treat me like a cow or a horse. I owe you too. Xiaoling said that we owe you a favor that we can't repay in our lifetime. All we can do is to do Happy Entertainment well. The first part was a joke, but the latter part was absolutely sincere. At the time of graduation, Gao He and Wang Xiaoling faced a painful choice. Although they stuck to their love, they also endured the ruthless test of reality. If it weren't for Liu Chen's timely help and the establishment of Happy Entertainment, it would be difficult to say whether the love between the two would blossom and bear fruit now. Maybe they would have parted ways under the pressure of reality. There are really too many similar things. Liu Chen shook his head. We are brothers. Let's not talk about this. Do Old K and Old C have any contact with you? Gao, he said. Old K immigrated to the United States. I basically have no contact with him, and I don't know any news about him. I sent him several messages, but he didn't reply. Old C is doing well and fading, but he has little contact with him. On the other hand, our class monitor Chow often asks you on QQ about when you will organize a class reunion. Life was like floating duckweed. After graduation, everyone went their separate ways. Everyone had their own opportunities and lives. Some people could become lifelong friends, while others would unknowingly lose contact. It's rare to reunite, and the topic between Liu Chen and Gao, he can't help but turn to the memories of the past. There were always beautiful things that were worth reminiscing about. While the two of them were chatting, Wang Xiaoling was accompanying Chen Feier to play mobile games. The game they were playing was Happy Entertainment's upcoming Plants vs. Zombies. This strategy game was Happy Entertainment's first release, taking over half a year of painstaking work to complete. The quality of the game was without a doubt outstanding. Under Wang Xiaoling's guidance, Chen Feier quickly mastered the technique and was having a lot of fun. The biggest feature of this strategy game is that it's easy to get started and it's very playable and addictive. The content of the game is actually very simple. Players can quickly and effectively block zombies on the road of invasion by arming a variety of plants to switch different functions and eliminate them. With the quality and creativity of the game, promotion naturally becomes the top priority. Although good wine is not afraid of deep alleys, clever marketing is a multiplier of benefits, and it can achieve the effect of moving 1,000 pounds with little effort. And this time, the responsibility of publicity still fell on Chen Feier. Last time Happy Farm could become popular quickly, Chen Feier's blog post contributed a lot. Her number of fans on Wave blog is second only to Liu Chen, and her influence is great. Now it's nothing more than the same trick. Chen Feier rarely uses blogs to do product marketing, but her own things are definitely an exception. After inspecting the company's new headquarters and encouraging the employees who worked overtime for the new year, Gao He and his wife treated them to dinner in the evening. After the reunion, Liu Chen and Chen Feier lived in their own home in Hangzhou. The new house in Hangzhou has been bought for a while, but the two spent most of their time in Beijing. They really didn't spend much time living here. However, before coming over, they had asked their assistant to hire someone to clean it up, so it was very clean. After taking a shower, Chen Feier leaned lazily in Liu Chen's arms. She mischievously drew circles on Liu Chen's chest with her fingers and asked, "It will be Valentine's Day in a few days. How are you going to spend it?" Liu Chen frowned. "I don't know. Shopping, eating, watching movies," Chen Feier said, old-fashioned. Liu Chen smiled and turned over to press her under his body. "Then let's think about it while doing it." Chen Feier giggled and reached out to hug his neck. "You're so annoying." In the bedroom, there was a spring scene. February 12th, 2 days before Valentine's Day. Happy Entertainment released the mobile puzzle game Plants vs. Zombies version 1.0 on different mobile platforms. On that day, the single-player game surpassed 3 million downloads, causing quite a stir in the industry. The competition in the mobile game market was extremely intense. Big and small mobile game companies or companies that developed mobile games were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. The entire market had become a sea of blood. The more games there were, the more options the players had to choose from. The industry was now moving towards large-scale MMOs, and Plants vs. Zombies as a single-player game would be very difficult to compete with. However, the game quickly became a success and gained a good reputation in the market. First of all, Happy Entertainment had 2 successful games, Happy Farm and Fruit Ninja. In particular, Fruit Ninja had more than 50 million downloads, so Plants vs. Zombies stood at a very high starting point. Most importantly, Plants vs. Zombies was a very fun game. It was a great way to kill time on mobile. It was very creative and fun, and the characters were cute enough. It was very easy for users who didn't like but didn't have the time to play online games. And with Chun Feier's marketing for the game, it quickly gained a large number of fans. Since Plants vs. Zombies was a free game, and it was released before Valentine's Day, some fans asked if it was a Valentine's Day gift from Lu Chun and Chun Feier. That was definitely not the case. Lu Chun and Chun Feier's real Valentine's Day gift to their fans were two songs. One song from Lu Chun and one song from Chun Feier, and they were for the single people. Chapter 793. Hangzhou Baidi. After nightfall, Westlake had a completely different view than during the day. A waning moon hung high in the sky, and specks of starlight decorated the night sky. Compared with the scenery of lakes, mountains, and thousands of lights in the world, it was dazzling. Today was the 29th of the Lunar New Year, so there shouldn't be many tourists on the Baidi. However, the broken bridge was bustling with people, and there were couples everywhere. Because today was also Valentine's Day, many couples came here to take a walk, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the romantic time that belonged to two people, or sit by the lake or under the willow trees and whisper to each other. The air was filled with a sweet atmosphere. Lu Chun and Chun Feier walked in the crowd hand in hand. Both of them were wearing masks, and Chun Feier also added a knitted wool hat, so they didn't have to worry about being recognized. The most important thing was that the people around them were most concerned about the couple around them at this moment, and they wouldn't notice the existence of two big stars among them. Chun Feier's eyes were curved, and she held Lu Chun's hand and jumped a few times from time to time, as if she was a little girl who had just been immersed in love, exuding joy and happiness from the inside out. This was the third Valentine's Day they had spent together. On this special day, they recalled their encounter, acquaintance, and love together. They felt that this was the greatest happiness in life. This handsome guy. As soon as they crossed the broken bridge, a little girl with a large bouquet of roses in her arms suddenly came out of the crowd and blocked their way. She looked up at Lu Chun and said, "Today is Valentine's Day. Your girlfriend is so beautiful. Why don't you buy her a bouquet of roses?" Her serious expression seemed to accuse Lu Chun of his heinous crimes. Chun Feier couldn't help but laugh. She knew that it was just a marketing trick, but she was still very happy. Lu Chun deliberately teased the little girl. "How do you know she's beautiful?" Chun Feier had covered herself up tightly, only showing her eyes and nose, so her real face couldn't be seen. The little girl said very seriously, "You are so handsome, this big sister must be a beauty with a handsome guy." Even Lu Chun was amused. "How much do you sell your flowers for?" Looking at the cute girl in front of him, Lu Chun couldn't help but think of last year's Valentine's Day. Last Valentine's Day, he and Chun Feier had spent it in Xiangjiang. He remembered that at that time, they had also met a flower seller on the streets of Xiangjiang and bought a basket of roses. The little girl replied, "One stick is 10 yuan. A bunch of 11 sticks is 100 yuan." At the same time, she blinked her big black eyes and looked at Lu Chun with anticipation. Chun Feier was a little more cautious and asked, "Little girl, aren't your parents worried about you selling flowers alone?" The little girl turned her head and pointed to a couple pushing a flower cart by the side of the broken bridge. "They're over there." Lu Chun smiled and said, "Take us there. I'll buy more." It was freezing outside, and it was the 29th day of the Lunar New Year. A family coming to the broken bridge to sell flowers was undoubtedly to make a living. Seeing that the little girl's face was red from the cold, he couldn't help but feel pity for her. Okay, the little girl knew that she had caught a big business, so she agreed crisply. The flower cart was a tricycle. There were 4 or 5 plastic buckets on the board, all of which were bunches of packaged roses. The couple were selling enthusiastically, but business was not very good. "Mom, this brother said he wants to buy a lot of roses." The little girl selling flowers came over with Lu Chun and shouted happily. The middle-aged man was surprised and quickly asked, "Hello, How many roses do you need? If there are a lot, we can give you a discount and free packaging. Lu Chen asked, how many roses do you have here? How many? The middle-aged man looked at the roses in the cart awkwardly and then counted the roses in his daughter's hand. He was stunned. His wife reacted quickly. More than 500, less than 600, about 570 or 80. Lu Chen nodded. I want all of them. How much is it? All of them? The couple suddenly showed a look of surprise. They had met the legendary local tyrant. The middle-aged man said, if you want all of them, you can give me 5,000. When he said this number, he was uneasy. After all, the purchase price was less than one-third. Lu Chen said with a smile, 5,000 is fine. Can I use QQ transfer? He didn't have so much cash on him, but it was very common to use mobile phone pay now. Even the tea eggs had a payment QR code. Therefore, there was no problem with QQ transfer. Lu Chen took a rose and said to the couple, I want this one. You can help me give away the rest here. When they heard Lu Chen say, I want this one, the couple were dumbfounded. They thought they had been fooled, and then they were dumbfounded. Give them all away? It wasn't until Lu Chen transferred 5,000 yuan with his mobile phone that they woke up from a dream. Knowing that Lu Chen wasn't joking, they quickly agreed. Lu Chen handed the rose in his hand to Chen Fei, and said with a smile, Happy Valentine's Day, dear. Chen Fei, smiled sweetly and took the rose. Her eyes were full of emotion. The crowd quickly gathered around, not because they found out the identity of the two, but because the free rose distribution began. All the couples who passed the broken bridge received a flower symbolizing love. There was a lingering fragrance in the hand of giving roses. Lu Chen pulled Chen Fei, and quietly withdrew from the crowded crowd with happiness. The Mercedes-Benz driven by Zhang Xiaofeng was waiting by the broken bridge. After they got in the car, they went straight to Hangzhou Airport. Tomorrow was New Year's Eve. Because Lu Chen and Chen Fei were going to participate in the Spring Festival Gala, they booked a ticket to return to Beijing tonight. Now the time was just right. On the way to the airport, Zhang Xiaofeng turned on the car radio. Welcome to FM 103, 7 City Voice Radio. Today is Valentine's Day. Well, a very special day. The host's soft voice, accompanied by soft music, spread in the car. Here, I wish all couples can love each other for a lifetime. In addition, I also want to give 2 Valentine's Day songs to all the listeners who are still single, including myself. First is Single Love Song from Lu Chen. Lu Chen and Chen Fei couldn't help but look at each other and smile. Chen Fei gently leaned her head on Lu Chen's shoulder. I, who can't hold on to love, always watch it slip away. There are happy people everywhere in the world. Why can't I be one of them? For the sake of love, I have long suffered enough of the pain of love. There are people who are lost in love everywhere. Love, the more frustrated you are, the stronger you become. Love, you must be persistent. Every single person must see through it. If you want to love, don't be afraid of pain. Note, Single Love Song lyricist, Yi Jiafu / composer, Chen Yaochuan. Chapter 794. The new Mercedes-Benz worth 2.7 million has excellent sound insulation. There is almost no noise when driving on the road. The standard car stereo is even more high-end, accurately restoring the digital music played by the FM radio station. Find a dear person you love the most, love deeply, and want to love to say goodbye to being single. A passionate, infatuated, heartless, and ruthless person to give me scars. There are so many sad people. This Single Love Song was recorded by Lu Chen in the recording studio of Chinfei Media headquarters a few days ago. It was first released on Wave's blog last night. It was a new song customized for Valentine's Day, for all fans who were still single on Valentine's Day. Although Lu Chen has long since got rid of his singleness and has a heavenly queen girlfriend and sweet love that everyone envies, but for this special work, he still poured considerable emotion into it and sang the style of the work. Rich but not dignified, smooth but not mediocre, pleasant but not seeking credit. This song truly sang the pursuit and desire of those single people for love. It was both tender and delicate and wild and unrestrained. The style of the song leaned towards rock and roll, which easily resonated with the audience. This song, Single Love Song, also shows Lu Chen's singing skills incisively and vividly. To a certain extent, it is also his dazzling work, especially the interpretation of the climax of the song, which makes people's hearts tremble when they listen to it. Especially on a day like Valentine's Day, hearing such a song, whether it was unloved, in love, or in love, everyone would have their own feelings. It was worth mentioning that as a special new song for Valentine's Day, the studio version of Single Love Song, released by Lu Chen on his blog, broke through 1 million downloads in just 2 hours, and now it has reached more than 5 million. The praise was overwhelming. Because it was a genuine free download, the speed of dissemination was naturally extremely fast. It was normal to hear this song on Hangzhou's radio station. This is Single Love Song from Lu Chen. I hope everyone likes it. I'm Su Jia, the host of FM 103. 7 City Voice Radio Music accompany you. I'm here to accompany all the single people to celebrate this Valentine's Day. I hope you can find your true love in the new year. All right, the next song is also very special. This song is also Lu Chen's new work, but it's not sung by him. It's his. The host of the radio station kept everyone in suspense, but he quickly revealed the mystery. I think everyone should know or have guessed it. The second song was written and composed by Lu Chen and sung by Chen Feier. It's Valentine's Day without a lover. The hostess with a soft and beautiful voice smiled happily. A single love song and a Valentine's Day without a lover. Don't you think that the Valentine's Day gifts given to us by this pop music superstar couple are very special? Of course, some people will say that this is rubbing salt in our wounds. Don't cry. I'm here with you. Hearing this, Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. He said to Chen Feier, "This guy is interesting." Chen Feier tilted his head and pondered. Su Jia? I think I've heard this name before. The music started. Valentine's Day without a lover. There will be a feeling of loneliness for the person you love doesn't understand, and the longing is still in your heart. Valentine's Day without a lover. Unexpectedly receiving a card of comfort. I think the heart that love has found out. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. I only hear sad music compared with Lu Chen's Single Love Song. This, Valentine's Day without a lover, had a very different style. It was a graceful memory with a touch of sadness, and through the interpretation of Chen Feier's angelic voice, it seemed to sing into the depths of people's souls. Lu Chen gently held Chen Feier in his arms and quietly listened to the song, unaware of the passage of time. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, another year was about to pass. On the night of Chinese New Year's Eve, hundreds of millions of people, including overseas Chinese, had a sumptuous New Year's Eve dinner and set off fireworks and firecrackers. Then, they stayed in front of their TVs or computers to watch the live broadcast of the Spring Festival Gala of the Year of the Dog. The bright moon shines above the sea, and we share this moment together. Ever since the Spring Festival Gala appeared on the screens of Central TV, this large-scale variety gala had become an indispensable New Year's Eve meal for the Chinese people, and it was known as the New Year's custom. After watching the Spring Festival Gala, the year was finally over. After New Year's Eve was the first day of the Lunar New Year. After tasting the feast of the Spring Festival Gala, everyone naturally had a comment on it. Whether it was good or bad, it had become a tradition today. Among them, the most active were naturally the various media outlets. Just after New Year's Eve, topics related to the Spring Festival Gala were everywhere. Some discussed the programs, some commented on the celebrities, and some discussed the rankings, but the most important thing was the audience's reputation. In recent years, the ratings and reputation of the Spring Festival Gala had been deteriorating. Although its status as the top gala was unshakable, the criticism from the media and the audience was endless, and it even became more and more intense. Commercial advertisements, lip-syncing, corporate New Year's greetings, the host's insincere smile, and some of the language programs that were not clever and funny, and so on, had become a part of the vulgarization of the Spring Festival Gala. In particular, the language programs lacked innovation and plagiarized a large number of online jokes, which made the young audience tired of the aesthetic. All kinds of complaints were made, and it was quite embarrassing. In fact, it was not only the language programs. Even the song programs were not much better. Although the invited celebrities were all big names, they were always singing old songs, and it was difficult for new works to stand out, which made it hard for the audience to be excited. What made the Spring Festival Gala go from New Year's vulgarity to new vulgarity? There might be more than one answer. Central TV was also facing great pressure, so they specially invited Chun Guoji for the Year of the Dog's Spring Festival Gala. They tried to use this great director's experience and new perspective to reverse the situation. If the Spring Festival Gala was an extremely difficult test, then what kind of answer would Chun Guoji hand in? After Central TV announced the news last year, the media's attention was focused on him. Some people thought that Chun Guoji was looking for trouble. There was no need to get involved with a hot potato like the Spring Festival Gala. Some people also thought that Chun Guoji should be able to bring something new to the Spring Festival Gala. Perhaps it would be a surprise. After all, this great director was good at creating miracles, and his works often surprise people. But regardless of whether they were optimistic or not, what everyone hoped for was to be able to enjoy a gala that would make people feel happy and happy. And now that the audience's marking was over and the results were announced, whether Chun Guoji would be able to keep his reputation or not would depend on the media's headlines today. Note, Valentine's Day without a lover lyrics. Huang Yixiong / composer. Lu Zhenhua. Chapter 795. 93. 78%. Central TV's Spring Festival Gala ratings return. The audience's praise is good. Chun Guoji's first director of the Spring Festival Gala has given a satisfactory answer. Seeking a breakthrough in tradition, this year's Spring Festival Gala will finally no longer disappoint and ridicule. Counting the highlights of this year's Spring Festival Gala, the fastest to react was always the online media. Just after New Year's Eve, all the major websites' Spring Festival Gala features were updated with comments on this year's Spring Festival Gala. Among them, NetEase, QQ, and CCTV set up an audience voting session on New Year's Eve. All the viewers watching the Spring Festival Gala could vote for any of the acts and finally choose the most popular act. The final results were officially announced on the morning of the first day of the new year. Among them, the skit, the protagonist, and the supporting roles. The large-scale costume dance, Flourishing Age, Tomorrow Will Be Better, the multi-person acrobatic Golden Dragon Storms the Sea, and the closing song, An Unforgettable Night, respectively took the top 5 spots. The protagonist and the supporting roles, which was ranked first, had a favorable rating of 97. 25%, setting the best record since the beginning of the online voting for the Spring Festival Gala programs. The excellent performances of the two famous skit performers, Gao Dashing and Zhu Kaiqiang, won almost everyone's unanimous applause. This skit did not use annoying online jokes, nor did it make fun of the disadvantaged for fun. There was no boring flattery of the main theme, and there was no forced tickling of the audience's armpits or pretentious language. There was no sensationalism or vulgarity. It relied on the story itself and humorous words to conquer the audience. The entire plot of the story was extremely tight, and the contradictions and conflicts were constantly climaxing. Gao Dashing and Lin Kai's performance was even more impeccable, especially Gao Dashing's performance of the supporting role was extremely vivid. His acting skills were strong enough to put a group of industry insiders to shame. And the media's evaluation of this skit was also excellent. Even those media reviewers who liked to mock and ridicule were not stingy with their praises. Some people even regarded it as the best skit in the history of the Spring Festival Gala, or at least one of them. Compared to the media, the audience, especially the netizens, had a more realistic evaluation. It's so interesting. Gao Dashing's acting is so good. My stomach hurts from laughing. Dad nearly choked on his laughter. It's a work of conscience. Central TV has finally come up with a decent program. The more skits like this, the better. I hope it will be even better. I didn't expect that a thick-browed, big-eyed Zhu Kaiqiang would also betray the revolution. What a joke! The audience's eyes were sharp. They knew very well what was sincerity and what was deceit. They were not stingy with their applause and sincere praise for the former. The Spring Festival Gala was a free New Year's Eve feast. Everyone hoped to eat delicious food, not cold rice that had been stir-fried several times or rotten ingredients. The ridicule and criticism in the past was actually a demand for higher spiritual enjoyment. On this point, the main character and the supporting roles beat its peers to the ground. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, the leading role and supporting role easily had more than 10 million views on CCTV, and the search volume on search engines had also exceeded 10 million, which showed how popular this program was. The influence of the protagonist and the supporting roles has been widely spread on the internet. In many forums, post bars, and QQ groups, a variety of emoticons and jokes have appeared. Among them, such as Captain Don't Shoot, I didn't expect that you, XXX with thick eyebrows and big eyes, would betray the revolution, are flying everywhere. Gao Dashing had been silent for several years, and Kevin Lin was about to retire from the entertainment industry. But with the help of the leading role and the supporting role, the two of them became famous again, and their popularity was far greater than before. Then, some attentive viewers discovered that the author of the leading role and the supporting roles was actually Lu Chun. At first, some people didn't believe it. After looking through the video of the program and finding the subtitles, they were shocked again. Is this Lu Chun the same Lu Chun? When did Lu Chun start writing skits? Puzzled, and curious fans have run to the Waves blog to seek confirmation, and Lu Chun, Chunfei Media, CCTV, and even Chen Guoji. Then, it was director Chun who gave a response at the first time. Lu Chun is Lu Chun, not someone else. This made the fans explode. What the heck, this idol is too awesome. Everyone knew that Lu Chun's talent in pop music creation was unparalleled. They also knew that he could write such wonderful scripts as Autumn in My Heart and You from the Star, but they didn't expect him to also have such amazing talent in the creation of skits. Not only was it the creation of the leading role and the supporting role, everyone also discovered that Lu Chun had not only brought out a skit script for this year's Spring Festival Gala. Among the top 5 most popular programs, other than this skit, Tomorrow Will Be Better was also written by Lu Chun. Gently awaken your sleeping heart and slowly open your eyes. See if the busy world is still spinning in loneliness. The spring wind doesn't understand the mood, blowing at the heart of a young man, letting the tears on yesterday's face dry with memories, looking up to find wings in the sky. Tomorrow Will Be Better was a completely new song. The singers were a gathering of stars, including Lu Chun, Chun Fei-er, Lu Gangsheng, Fang Yuehua, Zhang Fangfang. All of them were big stars. This work had a beautiful melody and an elegant style. It was full of positive energy and contained a strong humanistic sentiment, which easily resonated with the audience. Through the singing of the 7 stars, it became popular overnight. That was not all. Even the ending song of the Spring Festival Gala, An Unforgettable Night, also came from Lu Chun. In the past Spring Festival Gala, the ending song was a pure piece of music, the work of a deceased musician. It had not changed in the past 20 years, but this year was a major change. The melody of An Unforgettable Night was soothing and melodious, and the lyrics were warm and distant. It was easy to get close to the hearts of the audience, and it was also easy to sing. This song had a strong emotional tension and penetration. It not only expressed the sincere wishes when the banquet was about to end, but also expressed the infinite expectations and good wishes of meeting again in the coming year. The singer of this song was the famous female singer, Jia Linyuan. She sang the song euphemistically with a soft and delicate voice, and her voice was pleasant to the ear. If not for the ending song, it would definitely be ranked higher. Of the top 5 works of the Spring Festival Gala, 3 were brought out by Lu Chen. Tomorrow Will Be Better and An Unforgettable Night showed his deep talent in different fields of music and songs, and it was admirable. A music critic sighed on his blog. To say that Lu Chen was a musical genius was belittling him. He already had the qualifications to be the godfather of pop music. What he lacked was just a few crowns and time. Note: Tomorrow Will Be Better lyrics. Luo Daiyou, Zhang Dachuan, Su Naixing, Li Shouchuan, Zhang Aijia, Qiu Fuxing, Zhang Hongji / composer. Luo Daiyou. Chapter 796. Zizi, the stainless steel fried basket, was immersed in the yellow hot oil, and the frozen French fries in the basket immediately reacted wonderfully with the 170-degree palm olive oil, making a pleasant sound. After 1 minute and 30 seconds, Lu Chen lifted the fried basket out of the oil, shook it left and right about 5 times, and then put it into the oil pan again, so that it was finished in 2 minutes. In this process, the golden French fries completed a reborn change with the help of the boiling oil, and the air was filled with a strong fragrance, just waiting for the oil to be cleaned and loaded into the material box. Lu Chen has done the same job countless times in this KFC fast food restaurant. Even with his eyes closed, he will not make a mistake, and the time control is just right. Xiao Lu, are the French fries ready? A voice of inquiry came from outside, and Lu Chen replied without turning his head, "It'll be ready soon. Today is the weekend, and it is dinner time, so business in the restaurant is particularly good. There's a long line in front of the 3 checkout counters, and the food is almost out of service." Although very tired, Lu Chen still insists on doing his best work. Although this job does not have much future prospects, it can help Lu Chen survive in Beijing, a super metropolis with a population of 30 million. After deducting the necessary monthly expenses, he can save some money to send home. Thinking of the heavy debt at home, Lu Chen let out a silent sigh in his heart, but his actions did not slow down in the slightest. He quickly packed the fries ordered by the customers and sent them to the counter. He was busy until after 9 o'clock, and business finally quieted down, leaving only a few customers in the restaurant to kill time or rest. Lu Chen was mopping the floor with a mop. Just now, a child accidentally spilled a drink on the ground, and Sister Wang, who was in charge of cleaning, went to the bathroom, so he took the initiative to do it. Squeak, the glass door was pushed open from the outside, and 3 men came in one after another. Lu Chen straightened up and smiled. "Welcome to KFC." The next moment, his voice froze. Lu Chen felt that the 3 people who had just entered were extremely familiar, as if they were the closest people to him. However, he just couldn't remember their names, so he was momentarily stunned. One of the men, who was wearing jeans and a t-shirt and had long hair hanging down to his shoulders, smiled and patted his shoulder, saying, "What's up? You don't even recognize us? We are your creditors." Creditors? Lu Chen's brain was a mess. He didn't remember owing the man money, but it wasn't right to say that he didn't know him. Lu Chen, another bespectacled, elegant, middle-aged man, smiled and said, "Don't bother with him. He just doesn't know how to behave properly. We are very hungry. Hurry up and give us something to eat." Lu Chen nodded blankly. Okay. What do you want to eat? He had forgotten that in KFC, customers would go to the cashier to order and pay, which was different from ordinary restaurants. The 3 of them sat down at a nearby table. The long-haired man shouted, "Give me a family bucket and a whole cow deluxe set meal. Add 3 more fries, and add more ice cubes to the cola." Lu Chen noted it down and ran to the cashier in a dazed order. He even took out his own money to pay for the food. After a while, he sent the food over. The other party didn't stand on ceremony and chatted happily as they ate. The 3 of them were obviously very good friends. They chatted about a wide range of topics, including music, literature, and movies. Moreover, their conversations were quite interesting. Lu Chen, who was mopping the floor, listened attentively. The long-haired man talked the most. When he was talking about something, he even danced with joy. He was in high spirits and was unrestrained. The bespectacled man was cultured and refined. He could always keep up with the other party's topic, like a supporting character in a crosstalk. The other thin and tall man was much quieter. He was a man of few words, but he would always hit the nail on the head. He had a pair of dark eyes that were unfathomable. Lu Chun kept feeling that something was wrong. However, he was attracted by the topic of the three of them. His thoughts wandered, and he didn't notice the passage of time until the sound of the closing bell rang. At that moment, there were only 3 customers left in the shop. Lu Chun came to his senses and walked over to say, "Sir, we are closing." The bespectacled man looked around at his companions and sighed. "Yes, it's time to go." He stood up and extended his hand toward Lu Chun. "Thank you for your hospitality. My name is Fong Mingyi." Lu Chun subconsciously shook hands with him. "Hello, my name is Lu Chun." The long-haired man stood up and extended his hand toward Lu Chun. "I am Su Bo. Now that we are even, you don't owe us anything anymore. Are you happy?" Lu Chun was speechless. The thin and tall man didn't shake hands with Lu Chun. He just took a deep look at Lu Chun and nodded. "His name is Mo Ran, an enigma." Su Bo patted Lu Chun's shoulder again and said, "We are leaving. We are going to Dianan to climb the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain." After that, the 3 of them left together. Lu Chun was stunned for a moment before he came to his senses. He immediately rushed out and shouted, "Don't go." However, on the empty street, they couldn't be seen at all. Lu Chun. Just as Lu Chun was at a loss, a familiar voice came from the side. Lu Chun turned his head and saw a beautiful woman standing behind him with a complicated expression. "Wang Ying." Lu Chun blurted out, "Why are you here?" Wang Ying seemed to have made up her mind. She bit her lip and said, "Lu Chun, let's break up." "Break up?" Lu Chun felt that his head was about to explode. He couldn't believe his ears. "Why?" "I love you very much, but love can't replace reality. You can't give me what I want." Wang Ying talked endlessly, but Lu Chun couldn't hear a word. A kind of heart-wrenching pain spread in his body, and the cramps in his stomach made him involuntarily bend over and squat on the ground. "No." Lu Chun, when he was in so much pain that he couldn't control himself, an angelic voice sounded in his ear, replacing Wang Ying's incantation. Lu Chun reluctantly raised his head. The bright light shone on him, making him unable to see the other person's face. "Lu Chun." Another shout woke him up. Trying to open his eyes, Lu Chun found himself lying on the bed. The light on the bedside table was on. Chun Fei was holding him with a concerned look and asked softly, "Did you have a nightmare?" Lu Chun took a long breath and was completely awake. He asked, "What time is it?" Chun Fei said, "It's still early. Go back to sleep." Lu Chun didn't say anything, so she didn't ask. Lu Chun nodded and hugged her tightly in his arms, as if hugging the whole world. "It's so good to have you." Chapter 797. After the Lantern Festival, the new year could be considered to be truly over. From the first day of a new year to the 15th day of the first lunar month, except for attending a scheduled endorsement event, Lu Chun had no work. He spent most of his time with his family to make up for the regret of not having dinner together on New Year's Eve. For this reason, Lu Chun also declined several important announcements. If the loss was measured by economic benefits alone, a few million was the least, but for him now, money was no longer important. Visiting the Forbidden City, climbing the Great Wall, visiting the Temple Fair, skiing, watching the flag raising in Tiananmen Square. As a 1,000-year-old ancient capital and a super-modern metropolis, there were still many places to go in half a month in the capital. At home on the night of the Lantern Festival, Fang Yun made tang yuan for her son and daughter to eat. Tomorrow, she would leave the capital with Lu Shui and return to Zhidong. "Mom." Lu Chun ate 2 mouthfuls of the sweet and delicious tang yuan and said, "You should retire early and let Xiao Xue transfer to the capital. How nice it would be for our family to be together." Half a month's reunion made him relive the happiness and beauty of a big family, and the parting was beyond nostalgia. Lu Xu was very moved and said, "Yes, yes, you might as well stay. We'll buy a villa, and we won't have to worry about not having a place to live." The housing prices in the capital were the highest in the country. It was almost impossible for ordinary people to settle down and buy a house in the capital. A few years ago, when the Liu family had not declined, they could not afford a villa in the capital. But now, not to mention Liu Chun, Liu Shi could easily come up with the down payment for a villa in the capital. Fang Yun said with a smile, "Let's talk about it later. My relatives and acquaintances are all in Binhai, and I'm used to it. I can't let you accompany me every day when I come to the capital to live, can I? Isn't it good now?" Liu Chun and Liu Shi looked at each other speechlessly. Fang Yun continued, "Now that you all have your own careers and xiaoxues in college, I have nothing to worry about, so you don't have to worry about me. If I want to come here in the future, it won't be too late to come back." After a pause, she said to Liu Shi, "You should also think about your own affairs. My brother is about to get married, and I can't still be single, right? Your career is important, but you can't neglect your personal life." As the manager of a media company with assets of more than 100 million yuan and the general manager of hundreds of employees, Liu Shi, who had been honed for several years, was an out-and-out strong woman, but her mother's tactful reminder made her speechless. After swallowing a glutinous rice ball, Liu Shi mumbled, "Got it." Liu Chen laughed. It was rare to see his sister look so guilty. Liu Shi was not afraid of him. She glared at him and scooped a few more glutinous rice balls from her bowl. "What are you laughing at? If you're not afraid of getting fat, eat more. If you really want your mother to live in the capital, then hurry up and have a few children with Fei." Liu Chen's smile suddenly turned into a wry smile. Chun Fei, who was sitting next to them, did not expect to be implicated. She blushed and lowered her head. Liu Shui hugged Chen Fei's arm and asked in a low voice, "Sister-in-law, when are you going to have a baby?" Chun Fei's face turned even redder and said, "You can ask your brother." Liu Chun quickly surrendered. "Let's eat glutinous rice balls. They won't taste good when they're cold. Everyone, eat later." Fang Yun looked at her son, daughter, and future daughter-in-law, and a heartfelt smile appeared on her face. Only such a home could be considered a real home. On the morning of March 3rd, the 16th day of the first lunar month, Fang Yun and Liu Shui returned to Hangzhou. On the same day, the challenge equipment for the swimming complex was all installed and passed the strict safety test. CCTV's preparation was also completed, and they could start the shooting and production of the show at any time. On March 5th, the audition for the actors of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer officially began. There were a total of 500 contestants from all over the country. These young people who were selected through the online audition would go through many rounds of selection and finally be qualified to participate in the shooting of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. They might become famous overnight. But first of all, they had to face a difficult test. The first was the elimination of the challenge. There were a total of 7 challenges, which would be the obstacle for everyone. Only a few people could stand out. According to the plan, the challenge audition would be completed in 15 days. CCTV Channel 2 would film the whole process and produce and broadcast 1 episode a day. Then there would be the semi-finals and the finals. For Chun Fei Media, after more than half a year of careful planning and preparation, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was about to start filming, which was undoubtedly a big event in the beginning of 2018. The movie The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would be divided into 3 parts: The Sword of the Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, The Undefeatable East, and the final battle of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. They would all be finished within the year and would be released in the summer of this year, the Spring Festival, and the summer of next year. So far, the stars who have been confirmed to participate in the shooting of this series of movies included Liu Chun, Chun Fei, Liu Gangsheng, and Tan Hong. In terms of the lineup, it was not inferior to other commercial blockbusters. However, according to Chun Fei Media's habits in film and television production, it was unlikely that there would be other big names or popular fresh meats who would participate in the film. It was very likely that they would bring a group of newcomers. In addition, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would be filmed in 2019, followed by the new martial arts drama The Legend of the Condor Heroes. At the end of this year, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would also be released. And at the end of this year, the online game of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would also be released. At the beginning of the new year, Chun Fei Media showed a series of plans, which made people feel dazzled. The fans, especially the readers of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, were naturally cheering. However, for the people in the industry, what they saw was the ambition of Chun Fei Media, or more accurately, Luchin. Around The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, a big martial arts IP was gradually taking shape. It was emitting an aggressive light, which could not be ignored at all. The Wolf is Coming. This was the title of a film and television media person's blog post on his Waves blog. In terms of film and television, especially in terms of movies, Chun Fei Media should be regarded as a recruit. It should be known that as the founder of Chun Fei Media, Lu Chun has only made his debut for more than 3 years. Moreover, he made his debut as a singer. It has only been more than 2 years since he entered this circle. However, his halo was too dazzling. All 3 of his TV series had created viewership records and were popular throughout Southeast Asia. The box office of A Chinese Ghost Story was over 1 billion, and the sales of the peripherals made all the people in the industry feel ashamed. Now he was shooting 3 series of big movies at the same time, aiming at the golden period of this year and next. How could his opponents not tremble? Chapter 798. Suddenly, it was like a spring breeze. Thousands of pear blossoms bloomed. Overnight, wuxia became the most popular IP, and countless people had their eyes on it. The audition for the actors of the Storms of 8 Directions in the capital and The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was going on in the swimming complex of the capital. The program challenge was also broadcast on the variety channel of CCTV2. The first episode got 5.78% of the audience rating. Although CCTV Variety Channel's brand was well known and the program's ratings were not too bad, to be able to achieve such a high rating in the first episode, the influence of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was the key. This talent show should be said to serve The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer movie. In the eyes of many people in the industry, it was destined to be popular. With CCTV's background, Lu Chen's brand, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer's fame, and a novel program idea, there was no possibility of failure. Many local satellite TV stations were already rubbing their hands, ready to copy this model. Even without the gimmick of a talent show, it was enough to attract people as an entertainment program. They could even add more content on this basis, expand the scope of participants, and set up more and more generous rewards. The manufacturer that customized the equipment for Chun Fei Media was hit by a big pie that fell from the sky. This year's orders were all full, and the inquiries were endless. However, the TV station and entertainment industry following the trend was nothing compared to following the trend in the film and television industry. To this day, even an outsider could see that Lu Chan was going to make a name for himself in wuxia. The movie The Smiling, The Proud Martial Artist, was the beginning of his rise. It would definitely bring about a wave of wuxia craze this year. If it was someone else, people might not be so sure, but who was Lu Chun? Who had ever seen him fail? Lu Chun sang, created the campus folk song, and brought the new folk style of the pop music industry. Lu Chun filmed, and the Urban Trilogy became a classic. Those who followed him to film the same type of TV series were all very happy. Lu Chun played variety shows, and the copyright of The Voice of China was sold overseas. Since a long time ago, Lu Chun had the reputation of golden touch in the circle. Now that he was betting on wuxia, how many people could hold back from following him? For a time, there were many followers. First of all, the original novels with the theme of wuxia became popular. After The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, many so-called new wuxia novels emerged in China. The copyright fees for film and TV adaptations soared to an amazing level. At the end of last year, a young amateur writer wrote Young Wanderer. The first and second volumes totaled 500,000 words. The sales were very good. At present, it was still on the weekly sales list of Xinhua Book Company. In the end, the film adaptation rights of this book started at $5 million. After many parties fought fiercely, it was finally won by Wanhao Pictures at a sky-high price of $12 million. At the same time, they announced that they would start filming this year with a total investment of $150 million. Wanhao Pictures was a subsidiary of Wanhao Real Estate, and Wanhao Real Estate was also one of the top 10 real estate developers in the country. It could be said to be rich and powerful, and it was undoubtedly very optimistic about this market that it had snatched the copyright of young, pugilistic world. As a new disruptor, Wanhao Pictures dared to bet. Of course, the established companies in the industry were not to be outdone. Just after the Spring Festival, 5 film companies had already announced their corresponding filming plans. They were all going for the popular wuxia IP. In addition to movies, there were also many companies preparing to shoot wuxia TV series this year. The result was that this IP was getting more and more popular. Many writers and screenwriters in the circle were eager to write about the same type of subject. At the same time, many stars in the film and TV industry revealed on their blogs that they had accepted roles in certain wuxia movies or wuxia TV series, adding fuel to the fire. A tall tree attracts the wind. In the elegant tea room of Beijing's Scenic Garden Private Club, Chen Guozhi said to Lu Chun with a smile, "You are a real big tree now. Do you feel a lot of pressure?" The owner of this high-end private club was Chen Guozhi's friend, so this famous director often met with his friends here, drinking tea, chatting, or talking about business. Of course, not everyone was qualified to get his invitation, and it was Lu Chen's second time here. They were discussing the filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. After directing the CCTV Spring Festival Gala, Chen Guozhi officially became the director of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. But he only agreed to direct The Sword of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer, which was the first movie. For the next 2 movies, Invincible of the East and The Final Showdown, Lu Chun decided to direct them himself, and he would be the action director for The Sword of Mount Hua. What Lu Chun didn't expect was that The Smiling, Proud Wanderer had attracted the covetous eyes of so many big shots in the industry before it even started shooting. It was estimated that when The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua, was officially released, it would encounter many competitions and obstacles. It was Chen Guozhi who pointed out the key point and gave a kind reminder. Remember to keep the script confidential. In addition, you need to strengthen the management of the company, especially the crew, and improve the contract for the actors. Don't overestimate the moral standards of some people. As a famous director, Chen Guozhi had been in the film and TV industry for decades, so he knew the rules too well. Nowadays, the investment of a big movie could easily reach $100 or $200 million, and the market scale was expanding year by year. The competition was extremely fierce, and in order to defeat the competitors, many people were not afraid to play dirty tricks. No matter how famous Lu Chun was, in the face of real interests, he couldn't protect himself from people's unfathomable hearts. Although Lu Chun had shot a Chinese ghost story before, the situation in Hong Kong was very different from that in China, so Chen Guozhi couldn't help but worry. Lu Chun accepted Chen Guozhi's advice modestly. "I will. Thank you for your reminder." Chen Guozhi smiled and said, "That's good. I can tell you that someone offered me $100 million to break the contract with you and shoot their movie instead." $100 million. Lu Chun was also shocked. He didn't expect the domestic film industry to be so fierce. Chen Guozhi was a top director in the country, and his quoted salary was about $50 million plus the share. He got a friendship prize for The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, which was $30 million plus 5% of the box office profit. As for the penalty of breach of the contract, it was only a symbolic $10 million. But $100 million was really a test. After deducting the $10 million penalty, there was still $90 million left. Lu Chun didn't think that Chen Guozhi was making up a story to raise his own value, and he also understood what the latter meant. He smiled and said, "How about I break the contract with you and let you earn this $100 million first?" Chen Guozhi laughed out loud. "I want to, but I can't bring myself to do it. So I just hope that The Smiling, Proud Wanderer can sell $1 or $2 billion box office, and then I can earn all the money back. Lucien raised his cup and replaced the wine with tea. Happy cooperation. Chapter 799. The popularity of martial arts IP brought by the smiling, proud wanderer not only attracted the attention of many people in the industry, but also brought several very special guests to Lucien. One of them was Luo Rong, the head of Ningxian County, and the other was Fang Xinho, Lucien's uncle, who was also the deputy section chief of Ningxian County's Industry and Commerce Bureau. Lucien received several guests at the headquarters of Qinfei Media. He received a call from his mother, Fang Yun, the day before yesterday, and then he came today. It was very fast. Ningxian County was located in the southwest of Zhejiang Province. It belonged to the relatively backward area of the province. It was an agricultural county with many mountains and few rivers. However, the natural environment and cultural scenery were quite good, and it was a famous tourist destination. Fang Yun was from Ningxian, and Lucien's grandfather lived in Ningxian for generations. Lucien lived in Ningxian for 2 years when he was a child, so he could be regarded as half a Ningxian person. It was precisely because of this relationship that a few uninvited guests had come to visit. Lucien complained, "Uncle, why didn't you call me first and let me pick you up at the airport?" Fang Xinho had called him after he had arrived in the capital, and then he had directly brought people over. Fang Xinho was a few years older than Fang Yan. He was a kind and gentle person with no ambition in his career, so he was only a small deputy section chief in the system for so many years. This uncle had a good relationship with Fang Yan. When the Liu family was in trouble, he came to Binhai. Although he didn't help much, Lucien still remembered this friendship very clearly. Fang Xinho smiled and said, "Mayor Luo didn't let me call. I didn't want to trouble you." Lucien shook his head and said, "What trouble? You are all elders. I should greet you." He reached out to the middle-aged man standing next to Fang Xinho and said, "Hello, Mayor Luo." Fang Yan had already said it on the phone. "Hello, Lucien. I've heard a lot about you." Luo Rong smiled and shook hands with Lucien. After a few polite words, Lucien introduced him to Lu Shi. Everyone sat down in the VIP lounge. A group of 7 people from Ningxian County was personally led by the county head to the capital. This was considered a very high standard. Normally, with Fang Xinho's status, he was not qualified to be part of this group. But now, his importance was completely not beneath Luo Rong's. Because people in Ningxian hoped that Lucien could shoot the movie in Ningxian, or at least shoot in Ningxian, so that the tourism industry in Ningxian could be promoted. In the past, Ningxian's pillar industries were agriculture, breeding, forestry, and so on. There were no decent industries, so the economic level had always been very backward. In recent years, the domestic tourism industry had been developing, and Ningxian had also benefited from it. The proportion of the tourism industry had been increasing year by year. After Luo Rong was transferred to Ningxian as the county head, in order to speed up the economic development, he decided to vigorously expand the tourism industry and fully develop the tourism resources of Ningxian. Under his promotion, the county also built a Ningxian film and television city in the scenic area of Qingming Mountain with a total investment of more than 500 million. The county head's idea was very good. The scenic area of Qingming Mountain was very rich in tourism resources. There was Qingming Mountain, which stretched for hundreds of miles and was covered with primeval forests. There was also the clear and beautiful Qingming River and the time-honored Yunshan Temple and Sanqing Temple, as well as the ancient villages that maintained the original ecology. It was undoubtedly the right thing to promote the economy through tourism, but he took too big a step. He invested hundreds of millions to build the Mingqing Film and Television City. But in recent years, film and television cities had sprung up everywhere. Ningxian was located in a remote area, and the transportation and supporting facilities were not perfect. So when the Ningxian Film and Television City was just completed, it was faced with the awkward situation of a lack of tourists. Planting the parasol tree had attracted phoenixes. Now that the parasol tree on Mount Ning had been planted, only a few birds had flown over. One could imagine how much pressure Luo Rong, who was in charge, was facing. Fortunately, the county head accidentally learned that the big star Lu Chun, who had just appeared in the Spring Festival Gala, was actually half a Ningxian man. And he was going to shoot a big movie with more than 100 million investment. So he immediately connected the dots. As an official, he didn't know much about the entertainment industry. He basically didn't pay attention to stars and artists. But since the construction of the film and television city, the situation was different. Now Luo Rong was very clear about the influence of a big star like Lu Chun and how much attention the movie, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, would attract. So for Ningxian, it was undoubtedly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It was not a legend that a movie could make a tourist spot popular. In 2010, the movie Deep Love was very popular in cinemas all over the country. The ancient town of Changxiao in the movie became very popular, and the streets were full of tourists. The demonstration effect of a big movie was very strong. If The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was shot in the Ningxian film and television city, as long as Ningxian did a little promotion, the whole project could be revitalized. Luo Rong brought Fang Xinho to the capital to find Lu Chun. He was playing the family card. For this, Lu Chun didn't have any objection. People couldn't live only for themselves. As long as Ningxian met the shooting conditions, it was not a problem to get a few locations. After all, he was half a Ningxian man. How about this? County head Lu Chun thought for a while and said, I'll send someone to Ningxian first to understand the situation. As long as the conditions are right, I'm willing to shoot the movie in Ningxian. That's great. Luo Rong couldn't help but be happy. He stretched out his hands to Lu Chun and said, on behalf of the millions of people in Ningxian, I thank you. In addition, our county government will fully cooperate with the shooting of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer! Lu Chun was speechless. He hadn't fully agreed yet, but Luo Rong directly thanked him on behalf of the people. Shaking hands with Luo Rong, Lu Chun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, thank you, County Head Luo. Luo Rong smiled and said, it's natural for our government to cooperate. I'm going to transfer Chief Fong to the County Tourism Bureau as the Deputy Director. He'll be in charge of the tourist area and the film and television city. Fang Xinho said, Obviously, he didn't know about this before. Lu Chun and Lu Shi looked at each other and saw the admiration in each other's eyes. This county head was really good at being an official. He was decisive and willing to take out benefits. It was related to Uncle Tang's future, and because of the relationship between relatives in his hometown, Lu Chun didn't need to pay more. The shooting of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer in Ningxian had basically been finalized. Of course, it was still necessary to inspect the shooting site. The total investment of hundreds of millions of yuan couldn't be sloppy. Therefore, Lu Shi led the team back to Ningxian with Luo Rong and Fang Xinho. When Chen Fei heard about this on the same day, he decided to go and have a look. Chapter 800. Are you going Ningxian too? Chen Fei's idea surprised Lu Chun. What for? Hearing Lu Chun's question, Chen Fei asked angrily, can't I just go and have fun? Isn't it good for me to go with Sister Lu Shi? And a faint blush appeared on her pretty face. I can also visit your grandparents while I'm at it. The last reason was her real purpose, wasn't it? Lu Chun surrendered. Fine, you go first, I'll come back later. Lu Chun should have been the most suitable person to go and have a look. After all, he was the real controller of the movie The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. When it came to the important shooting location, he had to visit it in person. However, the cooperation program with the Central Television Variety Channel was in full swing, so Lu Chun couldn't leave for a while. He could only let Lu Shi go first to understand the situation. Now Chen Fei was also there, so it was not a big deal. As long as she was happy, then I'll wait for you in Ningxian. Chen Fei smiled and kissed Lu Chen's face, saying, then be good in the capital. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lu Shi touched her forehead and complained, you too. can't you pay attention to your image? Chun Fei giggled, held Lu Shi's arm and said, Sister Lu Shi, let's go buy something for the trip. Obviously, she couldn't wait. On the third day after the people from Ningxia County arrived in the capital, Chun Fei, Lu Shi, and several people from Chinfei Media went to Ningxia with them to have a look at the scenic area and the new film and television city. Because the inspection this time was related to whether the filming site of the smiling, proud wanderer could be located in Ningxia, and whether the film and television city in Ningxia could get out of the difficult situation, Ningxia County attached great importance to it. They had started to prepare for the reception before they set off. Originally, it was enough for Ningxia to treat Lu Shi seriously as a representative. Now, with the addition of Chun Fei, although the treatment was not as good as the inspection of national leaders, it was enough to cause a huge sensation in this remote county town in eastern Zhejiang. Lu Qin didn't catch up with the excitement, but he did see on the internet that Ningxia County had advertised Chun Fei's visit to Ningxia as a daughter-in-law returning to her mother's home. This made him speechless. This kind of popularity was very skillful. But the ones who are really good at leeching off popularity are the people in the entertainment industry. With the early publicity of the smiling, proud wanderer, in addition to a large number of martial arts IP hyped up, there were also a lot of star artists rushing to leech off popularity. Among them, the hottest star was Gu Lei, the so-called hardcore star representative. This actor, who became an actor halfway through, was once the runner-up of the national kickboxing competition. He entered the film and television industry with his excellent skills and handsome appearance. So far, he has shot many films and TV series. Gu Lei's famous work was The Stormy South City, which had a total box office of $150 million and won several film awards, including the Best Actor. But after The Stormy South City, Gu Lei's films were mediocre. He mainly shot action scenes and basically didn't need a stunt double for the fighting scenes. So he was hyped up as a hardcore star, and his popularity was lower than that of the A-list. The agency that Gu Lei signed a contract with was famous in the circle for being good at hyping up, so they certainly wouldn't miss this wave of martial arts craze. And Gu Lei was also very lucky. He was chosen by the Land Pictures as the male lead of the new film The New 7 Heroes and 5 Gallants, playing the role of Zhang Zhao, one of the 7 Gallants. The Land Pictures was one of the top 5 film companies in the country, and it had produced many movies that were very popular at the box office. This time, they also targeted the martial arts TV series and specially chose the classic novel of the Qing dynasty, The 3 Heroes and 5 Gallants, to adapt it. As a big shot in the industry, the Land Pictures obviously didn't want to just get a share of the profits. First of all, the script they chose was very clever. The story of the 3 Heroes and 5 Gallants was widely spread among the people. In the 1980s, it was made into a movie in Xinjiang and released in China, so it had a good audience base. The Land Pictures claimed to have invested 100 million yuan. In addition to Gu Lei, they also invited a large cast. Although there were no top stars, the combination of these A-list and B-list actors was quite amazing. Originally, with Gu Lei's status, it was unlikely that he would be the first male lead in such a movie, but the company he signed a contract with was very good, plus his image and appearance were more suitable for the role, so he was lucky to be chosen. Gu Lei knew that his popularity wasn't high enough, so he took this opportunity to hype up, and so he went up against Lu Chun. This hard and powerful actor frequently appeared on variety shows and online media, and was constantly interviewed by reporters. First, he said that he played a very different Zhang Zhao, and then he thought that the new 7 Heroes and 5 Gallants would become a classic of martial arts movies. Later, he directly challenged Lu Chun in an interview. Lu Chun's skills are very strong. I've seen his fight with Li Zhiqing. It's very powerful and worthy of admiration. But fighting in reality is different from shooting a movie. In this regard, I'm not modest to say that my experience is richer than Lu Chen's, and I can make a real martial arts style. The Land Pictures thinks the same, so they chose me to play the most important role. Zhang Zhao is a person with a very chivalrous spirit. Originally, I wanted to have a real fight with Lu Chun, but it's definitely not suitable now. So, let's have a literary competition through the movie and see whose martial arts movie is more exciting. Under the deliberate guidance of the reporters, Goulet talked nonstop, as if he regarded Lu Chun as his biggest competitor, and he was very confident that he could win. Not only that, but he also posted the interview on his blog, and then with the hype of the internet, it quickly made it to the homepage of Wave's blog and fiercely gained a large number of fans. Many of Lu Chen's fans were very dissatisfied after seeing the video, and they left comments to scold and ridicule. As a result, it was exactly what Goulet wanted, and he responded on his blog continuously. I'm not proud, but I'm not humble either. It's useless to say more. Let's speak with facts. Please don't scold people. I think Lu Chen's fans should be of good quality. Goulet was undoubtedly very smart. Everyone knew that he was taking advantage of the popularity to hype himself up, but he acted as if he was innocent and telling the truth, which annoyed people but could not do anything about it. Of course, the most important thing was Lu Chen's attitude, and whether Lu Chen responded or not, or how he responded for him, there would be corresponding moves, and he would pester him as much as he could. In the entertainment industry, Goulet was by no means the first person to play this kind of trick, and he would not be the last. As long as it was a popular star artist, they would never be able to avoid such harassment. Not only Goulet, but there were more than one or two people in the industry who wanted to take advantage of Lu Chen's popularity, and they all changed their tactics, making Lu Chen the target of public criticism for a while. Lu Chen's fans were very rational. After seeing through Goulet's intentions, they did not help him hype up, but everyone was also very concerned about how Lu Chen would deal with such a situation. Chapter 801. As the target of many people in the circle, Lu Chen, who was in the middle of the whirlpool of public opinion, was very calm. Since his debut, he had been releasing many works, and his popularity had been soaring. His commercial value was getting higher and higher. Similar situations were happening more and more often, so he was not surprised at all. It was just that some people were hyping up the news very fiercely this time. His response was to ignore it for the time being and observe the development of the situation. If this wave of hype could subside by itself, that would be the best. If it spread further, then he would consider taking appropriate measures. Now, if Lu Chen is in a hurry to jump out and fight with the other party, then he will really fall into the trap. Perhaps some star artists in this kind of situation like to rely on a fight to stir up a wave, but Lu Chen really disdains it. In contrast, he was more concerned about his girlfriend in Ningxian. Oh, I didn't expect the scenery in your hometown to be so beautiful, Chun Feier said happily on the phone. I like it here very much. It's a good place to film. Lu Chen had lived in Ningxian for several years when he was a child, so he certainly knew the scenery there was very good. However, he had not been back in the last 10 years, so he did not know the situation there. Hearing what Chun Feier said, he was relieved and asked with a smile, "Then when are you coming back?" It was half of his hometown, and his mother had called him in person. His uncle and the county magistrate had come to the capital for help. Lu Chen had to give them face. Since they met the conditions, of course, it was a happy ending. The smiling, proud wanderer would shoot 3 movies in a row, so it was impossible to only shoot in one place. It was a win-win situation to include Ningxian as the shooting location. Let's stay for 2 more days. Chun Feier smiled and said, "The scenery here is very original, and spring comes early in the mountains. The weather here is much more comfortable than in the capital. Today, Lu Shi and I just climbed Qingning Mountain and burned incense in Yinshan Temple. Tomorrow, we will go to the film and television city and take some photos in real life." Obviously, she was a little addicted to it. What else could Lu Chen say? Well, stay for a few more days if you have fun. Well, happy holidays. Chun Feier was stunned when she heard that. She immediately came to a realization. Today is Women's Day. Do you have a gift for me? Lu Chen sighed. Didn't you see the big red envelope I sent you with QQ? QQ just launched the red envelope function during the new year. During the new year, he sent out millions of red envelopes. Of course, Chun Fei was not short of money, but it was his sincerity that mattered. Sure enough, she was very happy. Haha, I didn't even notice. Thank you, my dear. The two of them cuddled for a few more minutes, and then Chun Fei reluctantly handed the phone to Lu Shi. Sister, happy holidays. Lu Shi said snappily. All right, don't play this game with me. I'm talking business with you. Lu Chun coughed twice and said, Okay. What Lu Shi said to Lu Chun was really serious, and it was not a trivial matter. The Ningxia County government intended to sell shares of Ningxia Film and Television City to Chun Fei Media, and the highest proportion of transfer was 49%. The intention of the Ningxia County government was obvious. They wanted to tie Chun Fei Media to the chariot of the development of Ningxia's tourism industry and use the influence of Chun Fei Media to carry out publicity and promotion. In addition, they wanted to recover part of the investment and fill the government's already stretched budget. Of course, Ningxia County was not a unilateral demand. Ningxia Film and Television City has been basically completed. The investment is huge and the facilities are complete. The most important thing is that it contains the most elite tourism resources of Qingming Mountain, and the potential value is extremely high. Today, the domestic tourism industry is booming. As long as it is properly managed, the future return of this investment is undoubtedly very high. However, involving hundreds of millions of projects, Lu Shi did not dare to make the decision herself. Lu Chun thought about it and said, Sister, I don't have much experience in this area, so it's up to you to decide. But I have a suggestion. If you decide to invest, then bring Sister Mushy with you. Last time, Li Mushy complained to Lu Chun that he didn't bring her to play in the investment project. So this time, Li Mushy was added to fulfill the promise and share the pressure of Chun Fei Media. It also added insurance for the investment. With the participation of Li Mushy, who represented the Li family, it could really reduce a lot of trouble. Although this was a little harsh, it was true. Lu Chun didn't care how much he earned, but he didn't want to get involved in unnecessary trouble to make money. Lu Shi understood in a second. Your suggestion is very correct. Then I'll contact Mushy and see if she's interested. Lu Chun was pleased. That's it. By the way, you can learn about the situation there. On behalf of me and the company, you can donate some money to the lonely elderly or poor students in the county. It can be regarded as half a hometown person's heart. Lu Chun had always been very attentive in charity. It was natural to repay Sang Zi. He could also use this to establish a more friendly relationship with the Ningxia County government, which was conducive to the development of future shooting work. Lu Shi agreed. Things in Ningxia went very smoothly, but the trouble Lu Chun faced did not reduce at all. Gu Lei was addicted to riding on the popularity. Seeing that Lu Chun didn't respond, he became more and more unscrupulous in his hype. Gu Lei is confident to make a martial arts movie to beat Lu Chun. Who is the real tough martial arts star? Gu Lei says he has something to say. The new 7 Heroes and 5 Righteous vs. the smiling, proud Wanderer, who will be the box office champion this summer. Gu Lei accepts an interview with a reporter from EasyNet and admits that he has no pressure facing Lu Chun. His hype was in full swing, and others were envious. What was originally a small fuss was also deliberately expanded. All kinds of true and false news were flying all over the internet, and it became a trend for a while. As a result, the fans who had been waiting for Lu Chun to fight back couldn't help but feel anxious. Everyone was angry at the shameless and dirty people like Gu Lei and worried that Lu Chun would be affected, so they all ran to his blog to support or question him. Lu Chun still remained silent, as if he was waiting for something. On the evening of March 9th, Chun Fei updated her blog, and the theme of her new blog post was a photo. In the photo, Chun Fei was wearing a set of exquisitely embroidered goose yellow floral smoky gauze gown, with a phoenix head gold hairpin inserted in her lightly gathered and slowly pinched hair. Her beautiful eyes were smiling, and she was leaning lazily against a peach blossom tree with blooming stamens. Behind her was a green forest, a stream winding through the forest, and a stone bridge flying over it. Under the bridge, 3 to 5 white ducks were playing in the water. The people and the scenery blended together perfectly, and it was extremely beautiful. There was no text in this blog post except for the photo. It just Lu Chun and added a playful emoji. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.